Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Deku Became the Verdant Analyst? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Chapter 1. What a great childhood right. The media dubbed him the Verdant Analyst, a name that reflected his distinctive appearance and the enigmatic role he played as a vigilante. Those who caught glimpses of him were struck by his vivid green eyes and his striking green attire. The analyst, part of his name stemmed from a notebook titled Analysis, which he was often seen jotting in. While witnesses remained tight-lipped and claimed to forget about the vigilante when questioned by the police, it was clear that they were motivated by a longing to protect him. The Verdant Analyst had been the subject of a modest case file. This small-statured vigilante was believed to be between 18 and 25 years old, characterized by his striking green eyes and black hair. He donned a dark green hood, black cargo briefs, and dark red shoes, with a mask obscuring his mouth and leaving only his expressive eyes visible. His quirk was suspected to involve some form of analysis, as past encounters suggested. The first known encounter with the Verdant Analyst occurred years ago when he managed to hack into the communications of several pro-heroes during a battle. He provided real-time information about the villains, including their quirks and other critical details, significantly aiding the heroes. How he accessed this vital data remains a mystery, but many suspect that he tapped into police databases to gather his intelligence. Today was particularly difficult for little Izuku Midoriya. It was the day he was diagnosed as quirkless. The ride home after the doctor's appointment was relatively quiet, filled only with the sound of the radio playing in the background. Izuku was devastated and couldn't help but wonder why he couldn't be like everyone else. Before he could dwell on those thoughts any longer, his mom pulled into their driveway. Once they entered their home, Inko headed off to start dinner while Hisashi approached Izuku. "How did it go, kiddo?" Hisashi asked in a soft tone. Izuku struggled to respond. He wanted to cry, but he managed to answer his father in a shaky voice. He said, "I'm quirkless." Unable to hold it together any longer, Izuku ran towards his room, sniffling and wiping tears from his eyes as he went. In that moment, Hisashi's world felt like it had snapped. It snapped. It snapped. He was expecting a powerful son who could be his successor and take over his work, not a worthless, quirkless idiot child. His thoughts of hate were interrupted by the child running away in tears. The stupid child couldn't do anything right. It was then that Hisashi Midoriya decided to go get the milk, as kids these days would say. After informing Inko about his plans to leave, he grabbed his suitcase and simply walked out the door. He had promised to send her money so she wouldn't have to work so hard. This was what Izuku would have preferred to happen. Unfortunately, he wasn't that lucky. Instead, on that day, his father revealed himself as the MSTR of the underworld, the greatest villain in history. It was the day Izuku wished for anything else, even being quirkless. It was also the day he was diagnosed and realized he could never be a hero. His quirk allowed him to steal other people's abilities, plain and simple. However, it wasn't the doctor who informed him of this. No, the doctor said he was, in fact, quirkless. It was his father who revealed the truth to him. He showed him. Izuku's mother was a kind soul, too kind for this world. Because of this, Izuku vowed to protect her with everything he had, even if it meant becoming a plaything for his father. Izuku hated stealing quirks. He detested it. However, when his father threatened to kill his mother, Izuku felt he had no choice. Once a quirk was stolen, there was no chance of getting it back. Not for Izuku, at least. His father had the power to return it, but there was no way he would ever do that. After all, he was a villain. The first quirk Izuku stole was from a middle-aged man, and it was quite simple. It provided speed enhancements. Izuku hated the feeling he experienced every time he stole a quirk. It was as if his body were filled with pins and it hurt. Just as quickly as the pain arrived, it would fade away. Using these quirks felt strange. They made him uncomfortable and not quite like himself. Izuku was currently 8 years old, and it was his birthday. although he had lost track of time during the years he spent training with his father and another boy older than him named Tamura. Tamura's quirk allowed him to disintegrate anything he touched, as long as he made contact with all 5 fingers. Izuku didn't enjoy fighting Tamura, but he felt he had no choice. His father didn't give him one. However, today felt different for Izuku. There hadn't been any training, nor any testing, and Izuku was not stealing anyone's quirk. This, of course, made him suspicious. He realized it was his birthday, but he had never celebrated any of his previous birthdays, and turning 8 didn't seem particularly special to him. A darker thought suddenly crossed Izuku's mind. He was likely about to be punished. That had to be the reason, right? He had attempted to escape more frequently than usual lately, only to be caught and threatened with the possibility that his mother would be harmed. As time passed, Izuku began to doubt the threat his father posed, especially since he had never harmed his mother. Moments later, his father entered the room, and suddenly, Izuku found himself teleported to a living room. He recognized it. Izuku had been transported to his old house. He wasn't sure how it had happened, but he didn't ask. Standing there in the kitchen, humming a tune Izuku hadn't heard in years, was his mother. She looked so similar yet so different from the last time he had seen her. "Mom," Izuku said hesitantly. Inko paused her humming and turned around, tears starting to form as she saw him. She stood there for a few seconds before speaking. "Izuku? My baby. Is that really you?" she asked, walking towards him slowly. "Yes, Mom, it's me," Izuku replied, his own tears brimming as he walked hesitantly toward her. She ran up to him and hugged him tightly. Izuku wished this moment could last forever. He wanted to stay in his mother's arms, where he felt safe. Unfortunately, Izuku is never that lucky. Bang! A gunshot was heard through the neighborhood. Izuku was pale when he realized his mother was dead. Chapter 2: The News Plus a Getaway Driver. Woman found dead in house after shots were fired. At approximately 8:12 p.m. on July 15th, Inko Midoriya was found shot in her living room. Police suspect that it may have been a break-in gone wrong, although they have not yet identified anything stolen from the scene. The type of gun used in the incident has not been determined, and the case remains open. No one was seen fleeing the scene, leading authorities to suspect that illegal quirk usage may have facilitated the entry into the home. Inko Midoriya's son, Izuku Midoriya, has been missing for 4 years, believed to have been kidnapped when he was just 4 years old. With her passing, police believe it is time to reopen the investigation into his disappearance, as finding his kidnapper could lead to uncovering his mother's killer. If you have any information regarding this incident, please contact your nearest police station. Katsuki had been having a terrible day. Today was the birthday of his last best friend. He visited Izuku's grave. Yes, his grave. Auntie Inko had been hesitant to declare her son dead, but in the end, she had to accept it. Bakugo missed Izuku, even though he was quirkless. They had been best friends, and despite Bakugo's mean and rude behavior, it was simply a result of his explosive quirk. He knew that Izuku understood this. It was on the day that Izuku had gone to the quirk doctor that he disappeared. Now that Katsuki was older, he couldn't help but think it was more than just a coincidence. Whatever quirk his best friend had received must have been dangerous enough for him to have been kidnapped within just 1 hour of being diagnosed. According to Aunt Inko, Izuku had been diagnosed as quirkless, and once they arrived home, he went straight to his room. Shortly after, she heard a crashing sound coming from his room, followed by him calling out, "Dad?" After that, there was complete silence. Inko knocked on the door and attempted to push it open, but something was blocking it. Once she finally managed to get inside, there was no one in sight. Inko reported what she heard to the police, and they initially considered her husband a suspect. However, the problem was that her husband could not teleport and was all the way in America, so they ruled him out as a suspect. According to Aunt Inko, Izuku had been diagnosed as quirkless, and once they arrived home, he went straight to his room. Shortly after, she heard a crashing sound coming from his room, followed by him calling out, "Dad?" After that, there was complete silence. Inko knocked on the door and attempted to push it open, but something was blocking it. Once she finally managed to get inside, there was no one in sight. Inko reported what she had heard to the police, and they initially considered her husband a suspect. However, the problem was that her husband could not teleport and was in America at the time, so they ruled him out as a suspect. After his mother's death, Izuku hated his father even more than before, and he became increasingly determined to escape from this wretched place. He no longer wanted to be a hero. That dream had died years ago when he had received his quirk. However, if he could find a way to escape his father after so many failed attempts, then maybe, just maybe, he could make it up to his mother for all the wrongs he had done. He could also repay the families of those whose quirks he had stolen and those he had hurt. In that moment, Izuku made a decision. If he managed to escape this hell, he would become a vigilante. While he would likely be considered a vigilante for breaking laws related to usage as well as breaking, he believed that as long as he didn't strike first, he shouldn't face too much legal trouble. Furthermore, he would need to wear a costume and hide his face, keeping his identity secret. For now, the most pressing challenge was escaping, and that was all he could focus on. It had been a few months, and Izuku was currently walking with his father in what appeared to be a prison. This wasn't the first time Izuku had come to this place. He had visited many times over the years. But today felt different. As they reached the halfway point on the floor, his father turned to him and said, "It's time for you to choose the quirks you would like to take." Izuku nodded in response. His father then turned and left, locking the door behind him. Izuku wasn't sure how long his father would keep him down here, but he knew that if he didn't select at least a few quirks, there would be consequences. He began to walk around the prison cells. Each cell had a marker on the door that displayed the name of the quirk and a brief description of how it worked. As he wandered, Izuku thought to himself that maybe he could find a quirk that would help him escape, like an illusion quirk. He knew that the only way to escape would be if his father believed he was dead or as good as dead. As he walked past the jail cells, something caught his eye. The marker read, "Doll Maker," sparking his curiosity, so he decided to read the description. The doll maker allows the user to create up to 10 dolls of their design each year. These dolls can be controlled for minor movements, but only one doll can be animated at a time. When the user creates a new doll, the previously made doll disappears. The user can customize the doll however they wish. If they can envision it, it will materialize. However, to create a doll, a sample of someone's blood must be used, and the doll will be filled with the same blood as the sample provided. Jackpot! The only problem was that when he went to see the person inside, it appeared they were dead. Izuku's eyes began to water, but he held back his tears with ease, thanks to so much practice. He had never attempted to take the quirk from a dead body before, but if it worked, it meant he could steal quirks without hurting anyone. He hated the idea of taking quirks, but now he had another option. He held out his hand, and for a moment, nothing happened. He couldn't feel the quirk. There was no connection. Then, suddenly, he felt the familiar pain he had experienced so many times before. It came quickly, but he was pretty sure he had just succeeded. To play it safe, he pretended to look disappointed, as if it hadn't worked, just in case his father was watching. Izuku knew that his father had likely put that obstacle in place, anticipating that he would try to escape, a way to demonstrate the power he held over Izuku. He likely assumed that he couldn't steal the quirks from dead bodies, which is why leaving a dead body with the quirk he needed to escape would serve as the perfect taunt. After taking some other quirks, his father returned. Izuku froze in fear as his father approached him, clearly furious. He grabbed Izuku by the arm and dragged him toward his room. Once they arrived, he shoved the door open and threw Izuku inside, locking it behind him. Izuku was certain that the grip would leave a bruise, but he was used to it by now. He stood up and went to bed, falling asleep almost instantly. He needed the rest because tomorrow would be the day he would escape. The next morning he woke up early. Although he didn't have an alarm, he still felt tired, so he knew it must be before the time when his father's goons would come to take him away. One issue was that there was a camera in his room. The one area that wasn't in the view of the camera was the toilet. Does he suppose they respected his privacy? Yes, he does. It was strange, but he wasn't complaining. Izuku went to the corner and started making a dummy. The first one didn't turn out right. It didn't resemble him at all. However, he had a few more tries, so he wasn't too worried. On the third try, he managed to make a dummy that looked like him, although Izuku had to cut himself so he could use his blood in the dummy. It was worth it when he made a dummy that looked like him, same wounds, the same face, and the same clothes, the same everything. Now the only thing Izuku had to do was make the dummy walk out where it would be because of the camera and have it kill itself. Simple really. The first steps the dummy took were clumsy, but after the third step, it was walking normally. Made the dummy charge towards the wall head first. The impact was so strong thanks to the speed quirk, the first quirk he had ever stolen. The head of the dummy was bashed in, and it fell to the ground limp. Seconds later, an alarm went off, catching Izuku off guard. Realizing he had to act quickly, he decided to use one of the quirks he had acquired. The quirk was called Off the Radar, and although he had only managed to use it successfully once for a few minutes, that brief time was all he needed. As a few guards rushed in to assess the situation, Izuku activated his speed quirk and dashed past them out the door. Neither of the guards noticed him. Off the radar made it so no one could see, hear, or sense him, but it only worked for a limited amount of time. Plus it's one use per 5 years. As soon as he exited the door, he kept running throughout the building. He had no idea where anything was, but he continued to run in search of an escape. He felt the effect of being off the radar starting to fade, so he needed to hurry and find an exit, preferably a garage on what seemed to be the first floor. He noticed there were no windows anywhere in the building, but that didn't matter. He dashed into the garage and saw that there was no one in sight. He climbed into one of the vehicles, unsure how to drive and barely able to reach the pedals. Suddenly, someone entered the garage. Izuku quickly ducked and crawled into the back of the vehicle. The newcomer was whistling and listening to music through headphones as he settled into the driver's seat. Just Izuku's luck. He had chosen the same vehicle as this man. Perfect, right? As the guy started driving, Izuku realized this might actually work in his favor. If he could sneak out of the car once the man arrived at his destination, he would be free. They were currently driving underground through a long tunnel. As they approached the end, Izuku spotted a small building with a window and saw a woman inside, or at least he thought he did by peering out. The man driving rolled down his window and handed some kind of card to the woman. She checked it and handed it back to him, and in just a moment, the giant gate door began to open, letting in light. For the first time in years since he had seen his mother, Izuku caught a glimpse of the outside world. The sun, the clouds, and even the trees. They drove for what felt like a long time, and Izuku began to feel pins and needles in his legs from staying in the same position. He didn't care, he was too fascinated by everything they passed. As they drove through a neighborhood he saw it, Kaken's house. His eyes widened as he looked through the window and saw what looked like Katsuki sitting at a table with 2 others whom he faintly remembered must be his parents. They continued driving until they reached a giant hardware store. Once the man left the car, Izuku quickly snuck out and ran. He made his way to the only place he could think of, a spot where he had dropped a pin earlier. The pin dropper feature allowed him to mark an invisible location to find it again, and it only worked for physical places. Following the mental directions he had, Izuku ran for about 30 minutes until he arrived at Kaken's house. He stopped to catch his breath before approaching the building. The lights in the living room were off, so Izuku went around to the side of the house to check if Kaken's room light was on. He hoped that Kaken's room had remained the same and that he hadn't switched rooms. While he didn't think it was likely, it was still possible. The light was on, and it seemed like Kaken was doing homework, so Izuku climbed on top of some trash bins and knocked on the window. Kaken paused his work for a moment before turning around. Izuku smiled and waved at him. Kaken froze, his eyes wide in surprise and disbelief. He walked slowly to the window, and it looked like he muttered something under his breath before finally opening it. "Hey, Kaken," Izuku said softly but happily. Kaken pulled him through the window and sat him on his bed. They stared at each other for a few seconds, and Izuku's eyes began to water. "Izuku? That is you, isn't it?" Kaken exclaimed. Izuku was about to respond, but Kaken didn't give him a chance. He pulled him into a hug. Izuku had only been 4 years old the last time he saw his best friend, but there was no way he could forget him. He hadn't been hugged in so long, and it felt nice. They stayed in that embrace for seconds, maybe even minutes. They didn't care. Eventually, the events of the day settled in Izuku's mind, and the panic and stress began to fade. He started to feel tired, and soon he fell asleep, still holding his best friend tightly. Katsuki was having an okay day. It was currently the weekend, and he had spent some time watching all-night videos of his latest takedowns. He had dinner with his family and was in his room doing a bit of homework his teacher had given them when he heard a knock on his window. He initially thought it might be a villain, so he turned around slowly, just in case. To his surprise, it was not a villain at all. It was Izuku. Izuku? The one who had been kidnapped? His first best friend? The one he knew was still alive? He walked toward the window. Could it really be? He murmured as he opened it. He pulled Izuku through the window and sat him on his bed. They stared at each other for a moment. "Hey, Kaken," Izuku said softly, yet still happily. "Izuku? That's you, isn't it?" Katsuki wrapped his arms around Izuku and hugged him just like he had when they were kids. He wasn't sure how long they stayed like that, but it was long enough for Izuku to fall asleep. Once Izuku was asleep, Katsuki examined him for any injuries and noticed too many scars. There were other injuries as well, so he cleaned them up and wrapped them carefully. What could have happened? Katsuki wondered. Izuku was wearing some sort of hospital gown, but it didn't look like it came from any hospital he knew. Katsuki decided to replace the gown with some of his old clothes since Izuku still seemed smaller than him. Yes, Izuku was shorter, but he was also very thin, too thin. Katsuki debated whether he should tell his parents about this, but he ultimately decided against it. He didn't want them to panic and do something they might regret. After doing everything he could for his friend, Katsuki fell asleep in his chair, trying to think about anything but what could have happened to Izuku. Chapter 3. New house, new names, old friend and red shoes. The morning came quick, for Izuku Midoriya. He had slept the best he had ever slept in what felt like and most likely was years. Kaken was already awake and he could hear the shower running. Kaken's bed felt like a marshmallow. He loved it. Kaken came out seeing Izuku was awake. He sighed. "You need the rest. I'm happy you slept while." Izuku beamed and the boy. "I missed you, Kaken." "Me too, you DMN nerd. I need to talk to you about something." Before he could finish, Izuku cut him off. "I know, Kaken. I know. I was there. I didn't do it though," Izuku said, waving his hand furiously. "I'm sorry. You had to see that," Kataki said, sitting down next to Izuku. "Oh, thank you for letting me borrow your clothes. I'll be leaving here soon. But could I borrow dash? Keep them. They are my old clothes so they don't fit anymore." "Wait a second, what do you mean you're leaving? Where are you gonna go?" "Kaken, I can't stay here with you. But I'm sure I'll find somewhere. Besides, one of my quirks is a literal luck generator, though it barely ever works," Izuku says, smiling. "What the hell do you mean, one of your quirks?" "Katsuki, keep it down in there," his mother yelled from the kitchen. Yeah, whatever, old hag. You better watch your mouth, brat. Now Mitsuki, sweetheart, I thought we agreed no more yellin'. Shut up. Your parents are energetic. I see they haven't changed. You still did not answer my question," Katsuki said, voice stern. "Well, you see." After about 2 hours of talking with only a few interruptions from Kaken, had told his best friend everything. Other than the vigilante part, but that was for another time. "I'm sorry," Katsuki said, pulling Izuku in for a hug. Katsuki stood up and went to his closet, grabbing a hoodie and passing it to Izuku. "You can use that, but we will go shopping together and you will get more clothes. I can tell I won't be able to stop you from leaving. I doubt you remember this, but when we were younger I promised to protect you. I failed, but I won't again, so if you need me, find me. But please try to be safe, and if you don't find a place to stay tonight, you can always come back here. You can always stay here with me." Katsuki then grabbed a notebook and pencil. "You mentioned that your father made you write analysis on heroes to help him take them down. You said you like taking notes and writing, so you can have this, but I want to write a few things for you first." Izuku looked at him curiously. "I wrote my number here, and I also added my address just in case. I also added your old address if you wanted to go. There's no one there currently, But eventually they will start taking everything out and probably donating it since they think you are dead and since your mom is dead and no one else is stepping up to claim the house and the stuff inside. So if you want to go there and take anything you want to do it soon. The name of my school, if you want to join my school, Aldra, of course you should come with your new identity Hanako, right? The extras at my school, they don't like quirkless, so I'll protect you. I'm sure your mom would have wanted you to go to that school because our mom wanted us to go to school together. I'll also give you my email just in case. Whoa, that's a lot, thank you. Kaken. Really? Once I get a phone or a computer or whatever I manage to get, I'll write you. So you know it's me. The code word is Rochambeau, dig me? Rochambeau? Yeah, it's random, but that way if someone pretends to be me or you have a feeling it's not me ever, then you ask what's the word. They hug one last time, relax, have a drink with me, I'm listening to Hamilton, sorry for the references LMAO, and then Izuku is off. About 2 weeks after he had faked his death and seen Kaken, and Izuku had finally found a place to call home. It was an abandoned apartment complex, with a few others living on different floors. Izuku lived on the top floor. The others always stayed on their floor, and Izuku did the same. It was nice. Izuku started exploring the rooms. It was not even that bad. Apparently the complex was abandoned due to an apparent leak of some poison. It was cleared after a while, but the people who had lived there before did not want to come back, so it was abandoned. Apparently one of the people who had moved in on one of the other floors had set up some kind of electricity and water thing. When he asked the young girl who was 11, she responded with a short explanation. She had said that she reached out to the old owners of the place and they agreed to turn on the power and water and pay for it all as long as she didn't go to court with the truth. And as long as she didn't get money from whoever stayed there. Izuku found out later that the truth was the owner had purposefully tried to poison everyone and she had proof somehow. He found out later that his neighbors that lived on the other floors were also runaways. They were close to his age apparently, and he had seen them a few times. Once he even saw one of them wearing a strange costume. Izuku made a note of that so they could maybe hang out sometime. Izuku did need someone he could talk to. First he would need to change his appearance for his new identity Hanako Suzuki. He was planning on just dyeing his hair black. Which means he will need money. So far, even just finding a place was lucky. And he choked it up to being thanks to his luck quirk. He knew it was activated by emotion, but he wasn't sure which one. He was looking through the rooms, making note of which rooms had things he could use when he saw an empty room. It was the biggest room and in the best condition. He chose that room as his bedroom. The room was nice. It had a bed that was covered in some kind of wrap. It was probably new when it got there. He found some blankets he had found in the other rooms and pillows, and he made the bed nice and comfy. He checked out the rest of the room. There was a bathroom with a shower, a toilet, a sink, and a shelf. He would have to find anything he needed either in the other rooms or he would have to go shopping. There was a small living room with a table and 4 chairs. The kitchen was nice with a stove and an oven. There was even a mini fridge. There was a bunch of cabinets with a few pans and pots. By the bed, there was a little nightstand and on the other side a closet for clothes. Izuku opened the closet and was surprised to find a black bag inside. He took the bag out and opened it on his lap. For a second, he thought it was an illusion, but right there in the bag was about 40 stacks of money. Izuku's eyes widened as he counted it. He was surprised there was a total of 50 stacks, each one with $1,000, which gave him a total of $50,000. He would have to trade it out for yen, but that was no problem. He was set. Izuku spent the rest of the day cleaning his room and taking the things he liked from the other rooms. He found a box of instant ramen in one room and found some squishmallows in another room, which she added to his bed to make it more cozy. Found some fairy lights which were adorable, so we just had to add them. He found a very nice desk made of wood in a room that seems to be the old room of a writer. In that room he also found a lot of supplies for writing, many notebooks, pencils, and pens. It was a dream. And it was such good quality. He put that in his room. He found another room that was pretty empty across from his room, so he decided that would be his vigilante base. That room connected to another room which, unlike the first room, stuff in it. It looked like a bunch of storage boxes. He opened them up, each filled to the top with rubber ducks. To his surprise, they were all green and orange. Izuku thought it was funny and put it into a different room so he could use that room to keep his vigilante gear. Izuka now had his room, which was the biggest. He had his base for vigilante work, which he added a smaller desk that he had found in another room plus a little chair. Then in the storage room that was connected to it, he did not put anything other than a few closets which would be for his gear. He continued looking through the other rooms. He found a guitar still in its case. He also found some beginner's music and a guide to playing the guitar. The person also had an amp, a bunch of picks in a box for the guitar, and some speakers. He brought it all to his room, but when he got to the room, he decided to put it in the room next to his, making that room his new music room. The room next to his room. Now the music room was rather small, but it had good sound, so it worked. The room originally had a small bed with some squishmallows, a little table, some colored pens and pencils. There was also a bunch of pictures of a little girl and her mother, and when Izuku saw it, it reminded him of his mother, so he took everything he did not want and put it in the farthest room, his storage room. Going through the rest of the rooms, he found some canned food and cat food and a few cat toys. Maybe he should get a cat? Maybe he could just feed the cats that lives nearby. That might be a better idea. He found a few other things, some jewelry, some cups, plates, books, clothes and more. It was getting late, however, and his wounds from the escape were not good ones. So Izuku had food, but he was currently out of bandages and ibuprofen. Izuku decided to take a $10 bill that he had found and go to the local convenience store to get what he needed. It was a quiet walk to the store with a few confused glances at him, probably wondering what an 8-year-old was doing walking around alone. Once he walked inside, he went straight to the aisle where they kept the ibuprofen, and once he found that, he started looking for the bandages. "Oh, sorry, little listener. You all right?" Izuku froze because he knew he had bumped into someone, but did he have to bump into President Mike of all people? "Why, yes, sir, I am okay. Sorry for bumping into you," Izuku said, bowing slightly. "No worries, little guy, just watch where you're going." Mike smiled softly at him and then turned his head to see some creepy and tired homeless guy. Wait, he recognized him. Izuku stiffened when he saw Aizawa. He must be a hero. But he looked so tired and his stare reminded him of his father's stare. "Let's go, Mike, come on," the tired man said. For a moment it seemed had almost said something else other than Mike. They must be friends, and that's why the present Mike would be someone who looked really tired. Izuku thought that is why they were together, right? Mike turned to Izuku and gave him a smile before leaving with the tired man. By the time Izuku was done thinking, the two had already left, so Izuku grabbed the bandages and went to pay. After paying, he headed to his makeshift home, only stopping when he saw a cute cat, but otherwise heading straight back to his place. Once he arrived, he went to his room and put his things away. He had 1 dose of ibuprofen and put new bandages on his wounds as well. He would need to start saving the money that he already had from the bag. Hizashi and Shota were out to restock on bandages and cat food treats. When they split up to get the things separately, Shota got the cat food while Hizashi got the bandages. Shota had got the treats and food for the cats and decided to check if Hizashi got the bandages yet, or if perhaps someone had seen him and asked for an autograph. This is why they never went out in costume. The fans were not a problem for Shota since he was an underground hero, but for Hizashi it was quite annoying, and they both knew this well. Shota had finally spotted where Hizashi was, only to see a kid next to him who looked scared. Panicked? No, that couldn't be. This kid was only what? 6, 10? "Let's go, come on." "Sheet," he almost said Hisashi. He already let it slip a few times, but he couldn't have it happen in front of a child. Kids had big mouths, especially young teens. Shota knew this well. This kid, however, there was something off that Shota couldn't place. And wait, why was he in this aisle? He had ibuprofen, but it looked like he had been looking for something. Before Shota could think any more about it, Hisashi dragged him off to go pay. It's time for a time skip. 2 years later, Izuku had settled into his new home. Kaken had told him each subject he needed to catch up on for school. It was tough, but Izuku was able to learn everything he needed to by the end of Kaken's summer, with a few weeks left to apply to Aldra. Izuku had started training with his neighbors, which he found out were vigilantes. They had told him about a cafe they worked at that was for vigilantes or anyone who needed a job. The 4 kids that Izuku had learned were Amain Nakami, the non-binary one who was also quirkless. Celeste Minksu, her quirk would let whatever she drew come to life or become real. Irene Kindly, her quirk was bare, no further explanation needed. Tango Prismatang, her quirk was sing-song and she could use telekinesis as long as she was singing. He started working at the Vigilant Cat a year ago and it was nice and paid well. It was a cat cafe which was awesome. Although he made another identity for the cafe, it was worth it. Kari Monica. Age, I think. Quirk. A quirk makes user appear their age minus 8 years. He works at the Vigilante Cat Cafe. Did this little gotcha thing. 3. Sometimes Kaken would come and they would hang out with the cats on Izuku's break. There was also this purple-haired kid who came every week. He always had bruises and barely talked, but it was nice to see how he got along with the cats. He later learned his name was Shinso and he apparently had been going there for years. From the $50,000 Izuku had found, he ended up using $5,000 on electronics like his computer, his phone and his headphones, which Kaken had said he should buy. He also used $5,000 on food throughout the year. He used $10,000 on clothes and shoes as well as buying everything for his vigilante outfit plus spares. With the $30,000 he had left, he saved it to pay for some online classes on coding and some tutoring sessions as well as first aid kits. Plus he used some to buy makeup and other supplies he may need for his fake identities, along with buying weapons for his vigilante costume. What weapons Verdant uses is yet to be announced. After all of that, he was left with about $10,000 which he used as backup. For coding and hacking, he had found an online course a bit after he turned 9 and started learning from there. He knew that to be a good vigilante he needed many different skills. Therefore coding and hacking were a great place to start. Izuku had been testing his hacking skills on the cameras around his neighborhood technically as a vigilante, but he was going to be a vigilante and no one will know, right? Wrong. Izuku had been switching between cameras hacking as he went when he came across some guy holding a knife to a lady's throat. Izuku panicked. What was he supposed to do? He couldn't reveal himself as a vigilante yet. He didn't even have a name. Plus he still needed to train more. And he hasn't even told Kaken. He got an idea and started searching the cameras for any hero who may be patrolling the area. He was going so fast he almost missed the number 7 pro hero. Kamui Woods perfect. He started to hack the comms of the heroes, failing the first try but succeeding after another minute. Immediately after he hacked into the comms he spoke. Kamui Woods. Hello. A man a block from here on XXXX Street is holding a knife to a nice lady. Would you care to lend a hand? As Izuku said this, he could hear his voice getting distorted even on his end. That was good, so Izuku didn't have to worry about them figuring out who he was yet. Kamui Woods only nodded and ran to where Izuku had told him to, probably guessing it was a pro hero or maybe an intern. Kamui took down the villain, easily tying them up and calling the police, and then he moved on, but as he was walking away, he pressed on his comm and said, "Hey, you there?" In a calm voice. Izuku scrambled to answer. "Why, yes, sir. Good job telling me where that villain was. You got a name?" Izuku froze. A name? He hadn't thought of one. He thought for a moment then answered, "The Analyst." There was a pause which scared Izuku. Did Kamui think that he was a villain? Was he gonna arrest him? Well, he will have to catch him if that's the case, and his voice couldn't be made out over the bad quality of the audio. On top of that, Izuku had masked his location completely and he... "Okay, Analyst, thanks for your help." "Wait, what did he? You just thank me?" The boy's head was spinning. He was confused. Why did the hero thank him? Well, he had hacked into their comms. That was illegal. Or maybe the hero really did think Izuku a hero or sidekick or something. He tricked a pro. Maybe his father was right. Maybe he really can't do anything right. After a week the same thing happened but with death arms this time. Izuku was bored, however, so he was just scrolling through cams when he saw a young boy being robbed. So Izuku did the most reasonable thing he could do, hacked into the comms again and called a pro. He was asked his name again and he gave the Analyst. It wasn't a bad name, but Izuku would have liked to think about it more, but oh well, it's not like it's going to be permanent. He could still think of a vigilante name. He had time. This ended up happening more times, which helped him begin to make a name for himself in the hero community as the Analyst. Izuku wasn't too proud of it since it was illegal, but no one seemed to question him, until someone did. Izuku had just helped Kamui Woods when Kamui asked, "Hey Analyst, I was talking about you with Detective Tsukachi. We were trying to find what agency you work at. No luck so far. Would you mind telling us?" Izuku gulped. He knew it would come to this. "Oh, I'm not a hero." Kamui paused. "Oh. Are you a hero student then? Izuku thought for a second before answering. No, a vigilante. Okay then, well if you want to join a hero you can always join a rehab program, your skills would be very useful. Think about it. Okay. Without thinking further he turned his computer off. What the f had he just done? He was 10 and a half, it was too soon to be a vigilante and he was not joining a rehab program, especially when he hasn't even started being a vigilante. Plus he didn't have enough training. Sure he did help Kaken in training, but that was only because he trained with his father basically every day while he was with him. That's besides the point. He was weak and he needed to get stronger. Izuku took a moment to calm himself down, but he decided to distract himself from it for now. He turned his computer back on and started looking at random websites. He liked the more illegal ones since he sometimes stumbled across some drama, which was always great. He had been listening to music after getting bored of looking the websites when he got an email. Who could be emailing him? He opened the email. It was from the Red Shoe community? What the hell is that? It was an invite to join an exclusive server. What did that mean? So Izuku did what anyone would do, he looked it up. After a while of looking at Red Shoes and a lot of hacking he found the answer. The Red Shoe community was a community of quirkless people and people who were diagnosed wrong and had the double pinky joint, but they still had a quirk. Some people did have quirks but were treated the same as the quirkless. Izuku went straight to the email and accepted the invite as if it would disappear if he didn't. Once he joined he was surprised to see it was rather normal. People just chatted and made group meetings as well as free therapy sessions for each other. This made sense since quirkless lives were hard. He knew this because Hanako Suzuki, his fake identity for school. Hanako was quirkless, which made Izuku live the life of a quirkless boy. The red shoes were something Izuku wore no matter the identity. He had a few pairs so that he could dye a pair if needed for an identity, since it would be suspicious if he wore the red shoes and the identity had a powerful quirk. The red shoes also fit better since he did have the extra pinky joint. His quirk was just unique, and though it was rare it did happen. As he continued looking through the website, he noticed they also had videos on self-defense and fighting techniques. The comments said that if you followed the videos and practiced and trained every day then you would be at a pro level by 3 years. Izuku knew he would have to start doing that, but for now he would wait to start till summer. At least he would be done when would be almost 14 when he would be done, which would be perfect, so he could be ready to start his vigilantism right as Kaken was going to hopefully go to you. On the server there was a group chat for each age group and chats to find red shoes near you, which is a cool way of saying quirkless people. Izuku found out that was a way to see who was quirkless. This server was very hard to hack into and was well guarded, so it was perfect for quirkless. Now when Izuku went out he saw the world in new eyes. He noticed more. He started looking at people's shoes more. He found that they were actually more common than Izuku thought, and he found himself and waving at a few of them, earning a smile in return. Izuku felt nice. He was more happy to know that there were other people out there than he had thought. 1 week later. Izuku had just accepted his first group invite from the Red Shoe community for all the newer people on the server, so he decided to go. The meetup was at one of the trusted locations. The trusted locations they had were normally family businesses run by families didn't judge or were similar to them. Another type of trusted location could be a park or maybe one of the houses of the many people on the server. Izuku had chosen to go to the meeting closest to where he lived, which was a 20-minute walk to a small cafe named Quirky Coffee. Izuku liked the name, it was fun. He didn't expect to be greeted by a group of 15 people when he arrived in the back room of the cafe. They chose the back rooms of these places just in case anyone came in and decided to attack them, so they wouldn't put anyone in harm. He had expected maybe 5 people but not 15. He really thought there were very little people like him. He looked around the room and found a seat and sat down next to someone who was currently writing their name down on a name tag and put it on. It seemed everyone was doing that, so Izuku took one and started to write. After a few minutes, and the group was a total of 21 people, which was very surprising, and the meeting started. Chapter 4. Neighbors of the strangest kind. He sure doesn't look like a pro. When 21 people had arrived, they started the meeting. If Izuku kept staring at everyone, no one was the wiser. A woman stood up wearing a work outfit and a name tag. Her name was Ijuki Tomio. Hello, Red Shoes. My name is Ijuki Tomio. You may call me Ijuki. I am today's meeting host. I work at this cafe and the owner is my grandfather who is not quirkless but he has a minor emitter quirk. He is a very kind man and if anyone here needs a job we're always open to hiring anyone. Remember everything that is said in this room stays in the room where it happened or just in the red shoe community. Anyways, another job in the area is the Vigilant Cat, which employs red shoes as well as vigilantes. They don't need any information since they have vigilantes that work there, but if you have a cover story and you don't use your real name then let them know how to call you. Now let's go around and introduce ourselves. She turned to the person to her right. Tell us your name and age. And something about yourself. The boy nods and turns to the group. And my name is Miller and I'm gonna be 7. I love snakes and I have a pet snake. Oh, I love the color dark blue. He says in a squeaky voice. Ijuki nods and turns to the next person. Go. They continue on like that. Until the person next to Izuku went. Name is Amain Nakami. I just turned I am non-binary and I like machi, the color yellow and I paint. They said in a casual voice. Izuku's eyes widened for a second. Celeste, his neighbor, had mentioned them along with 2 others. They were his neighbors. Izuku had only met Celeste and Tango for training. The other 2 had always been busy. Ijuki turned to Izuku. You're last. Go ahead. Izuku felt a bit nervous but he went and spoke anyway. And my name is Hanako S. Suzuki. I am almost 11. I like to analyze hero fights and really everything. I love Katsudon. Oh, and something not many people know about me is that I like singing sometimes and writing short lyrics for songs. I don't do it for often and it's just not something havithetum for yanobutov korzi will know yuria part off the stone diminutes, not like he maloney and imzo hapido dash. Slow your horse, little guy. Save that for the after meeting. Ijuki said, patting Izuku's back. After meeting? Ijuki laughs. It's kinda like an after party but instead it's after a meeting. We can all hang out and get some food or play games or just chat. Oh, cool. Izuku's eyes lit up. He got to talk and hang out with other people? Speaking of the after party, we should wrap this up so you can get to know each other. She says enthusiastically. At the after meeting. Izuku had been helping set up the snacks and drinks for the after meeting when he saw his neighbor. If Izuku remembers correctly, their name was Amain, forgot his last name but of well. Amain was the closest in age to Izuku at the meeting, plus they were neighbors, so Izuku thought they should talk. That made sense, right? Hey Amain, Izuku said while walking over to where they were. Oh hello, Suzuki, right? Yeah. But call me Hanako. Izuku said firmly. Okay then please continue calling me Amain, no last names for me. It's nice to meet you, Hanako. They shake hands. Sorry, were we supposed to shake hands? I've never talked to or met anyone in a long time, so yeah. After a second, Izuku gestured to the couch across the room and they started walking towards it. Don't worry, Hanako, it's fine. Amain said as they sat down on the couch. So what do you do in your free time, Amain? Izuku said with a smile. Well, I like to paint. I am about to start work at the Vigilant Cat. It's the cafe that Ijuki mentioned. My neighbor told me about it. Are you gonna be a vigilante? Izuku half whispered. Well, I already am, and it doesn't matter if others in the red shoe community know. By the way, remember everything you learn stays with the red shoes. Besides, I'm not telling you which vigilante I am. Huh, well that makes sense. Right, I work there too at the moment. My neighbor also recommended it to me as well. By the way, we're actually neighbors. I've heard your name from Celeste and Tango along with another girl's name, Irene? Anyways, I normally stay on my floor but I sometimes do short training sessions with Celeste and Tango. They told me they are also vigilantes. Oh right, I am gonna start vigilante work soon hopefully, although I already helped though hero comms. And so yeah. The main size. Oh that's cool, yeah, come to think of it they did mention you. I can't believe I never even saw you. And you haven't met Irene yet? I'll have to introduce you later on. And for the job, I've known about it for a while. They are always hiring since not many people want to work there if they aren't red shoes or vigilantes. Well, it'll be fun working together. Plus we should hang out more. We are neighbors, you know. We could hang out all of us since we do live in the same building. It'll be fun. Izuku says, the stars in his eyes bright enough to put the sun to shame. Well, you're quite enthusiastic. Well, Tango and Cell live on the same floor since they are best friends, plus they always work together, and Irene is on the floor under yours, so it should work. Amain smiles. Wait, then who is on the first floor? I thought every floor was taken. He says, confusion clear on his face. Oh yeah, well, from what I heard, some other vigilante named Lavender lives there. They are older than us, but that's all we know since they are almost never seen. But yeah, so Lavender is on the first floor, Tango and Cell have the second, I have the third, Irene has the fourth, and you have the last before the roof. The fifth. They explain to Izuku. Oh haha, makes sense, cool. He gives them a thumbs up. Hey, question. What kind of stuff are you planning on doing as a vigilante? Not that it matters, he said nervously. Oh well, so you know how Cell and Tango are vigilantes. Oh right, Irene is also one. She is new though. Hanako, Izuku, nods. He didn't know about Irene, but it's good to know. Well, I'm going to help them. We're gonna be kind of a team. We'll really wear separate vigilantes, although Cell and Tango almost always work together. That's besides the point. Well, we all work together on occasion. If someone needs backup, someone is always there. We all have comms on our vigilante personas just in case, or if we do some big mission together. Maybe if you come over sometime we could give you a comm, so if you want to team up we could. They say, barely stopping to breath. Wow, that's handy. It is good to have support. If you have another comm that I could use, then sure. Sounds good. Izuku says excitedly. Sounds good. Alright. I totally forgot you were telling you about what I do for them, huh? Sorry. No problem, don't worry about it, I do that sometimes as well. He says, smiling. Cool, thanks man. Well anyways, I guess I am the kind of the behind-scenes crew in a way. Well, I have a bunch of equipment to hack and stuff, so I normally help them find crime and tell them where to go. Sometimes I look things up, sometimes I turn on sprinklers or smoke bombs that I hid basically everywhere in our patrol area for quick escapes. It's all fun, even if I barely go outside to patrol in person. Wow. You've got to teach me your ways. I only have minor hacking skills and I only hack hero comms and cameras normally. Sure, sounds good. Izuku stands up on a chair. Hello, Red Shoes. I hope you had a fun time. Thank you for coming and I hope to see you all soon. I now declare this meeting adjourned. She jumps down from the chair and opens the doors, letting everyone out. Hey Amain. Wanna walk back together? Izuku says as they walk together out of the cafe. If you can lead the way then sure, I came on the train. Sure. It's this way. Izuku says, walking in the opposite way of the station. So you got a favorite hero? Izuku said, excitement in his tone. Well, heroes don't help the quirkless much and many heroes are fake. However, there are some real ones. My favorite is Eraserhead. What about you? They says, shrugging. Wow. I love Eraser. I have even worked with him over comms a bunch. But I would say All Might maybe? But there is really so many heroes it's hard to choose. Budido really like present me a Bushel Salo Vera Surheadendel Midas Asami Antli Keen Devour Tomic, but besides Tilda Love Hawks plus dash. Izuku says, catching himself from rambling too much. Sorry. Amain shakes their head. No, don't worry. It's totally fine. They arrive at the building. Since you seem to know the others better, would you ask them to meet up on my floor tomorrow at 1 p.m.? Izuku says as he started up the stairs. Yes, sure, I'll text the others. See you tomorrow then. Hey, you want my number? Just we have each other's numbers? No, I'm okay. I'll contact you. But how dash? It's a secret. They laugh, then Amain smiles and they head onto their floor while Izuku continues the rest of the way to his floor. Hey mom, you home? I just got back from the cafe. Phew, she's not home. He goes to his room, setting his backpack on the floor. It is currently 9 p.m. and it's not like he would be able to sleep tonight like usual, so he decides to listen to music until he may fall asleep. It was 1 a.m. when his foster parents got home, slamming the door open. That action would have woken him up if he was actually sleeping, but since he couldn't, he was still very awake. His foster parents were most likely drunk, so it would be best for him to stay in his room unless he wanted them to put the muzzle back on him after he went through all the effort of taking it off. After about an hour, he finally managed to fall asleep. Hitoshi, get your butt out here, you have school. Hitoshi gets up quickly since his alarm had failed him once again. He quickly got his school uniform on and grabbed his backpack already packed from the day before. The door slams open. Come on, brat. He nods and rushes out of the door. Once he is out, he rushes down the stairs of his apartment and starts towards his school. His foster mother was always getting him out of the house as early as possible and left before he was home. His foster father, however, left for work early and then came back with her. He started taking small amounts of money when he could so that in the morning he could go get food. And also so at the end of the day he could go to his favorite cafe, the Vigilant Cat, which was open 24. Hitoshi was surprised that those who worked there looked surprisingly young, which made him wonder if he could get a job there sometime. Hitoshi just got an onigiri when he saw a group of cats around some kid. He looked familiar. Oh, he was feeding them. Hitoshi went over to feed them since he always carried cat treats for situations like this. His uniform. Oh, this kid was from Aldera. That made sense. It was the one of the closest schools in the area other than his school. Oh, hello there, the black-haired kid said cheerfully. He waved back to him, since that is what he had been taught. Never talk unless he wanted people to hate him. Oh, mute, the black-haired kid signed. Selective, he signed back. He was now glad he had learned a bit of sign language. Oh, okay. Well, I'm Suzuki Hanako. Nice to meet you. Hanako said happily. Shinso Hitoshi, he signed. Do I know you? I don't think so. Hitoshi checks the time. Oh sheet dash, he was going to be late. Oh no, and he just talked. He turned to Hanako to see him smiling. You have a nice voice, you should talk more. He checks his phone and sees the time. Oh, I see. You're going to be late. He mumbles, well, me too, but it's not like anyone will care. Oh, I'll see you around, Shinso, he says brightly. Call me Hitoshi, see you later, he signed. Wait, had Hanako just said "oh" out loud? Oh, okay, Hitoshi. You can call me Hanako. And since names are hard in sign language, you can just sign my name as Eclipse since that is my sign name. Hitoshi gives him a thumbs up and they go the opposite ways to their schools. It's only when Hitoshi arrives in the classroom that he realizes something is wrong. He must have missed whatever it was the teacher had said, but that's fine since they didn't dash. That's not his teacher. Who the hell even is that? A homeless man? His teacher is nowhere to be found. Everyone is quiet. This guy must have done something. Maybe it's his quirk? The bell rings, and after a minute of sitting in absolute silence. Hello, class. The class straightens. The man smirks. Why was he wearing a scarf? It wasn't that cold today, was it? As I said before, class, I am not a substitute. But I will let you guess what I am. You have 10 minutes to speak your answers. Go. It's only about 30 seconds before the first kid says, Janitor? I'll tell you if it's correct. If I don't answer, then it is incorrect. Some other kid asks, are you an undercover police officer pretending to be a homeless man? No answer. Hitoshi thought that girl should at least get a point for creativity. What could he be? He thought to himself as he listened to some other responses while the man stayed silent. People said so many things, but it was when the kid in the front row who had some intelligence quirk said, pro hero, that Shinso finally thought of it. This guy was an underground hero. How did Hitoshi not notice? He wanted to be one himself. Underground hero. He signed, hoping the man knew sign language. Correct. The man said, smirking at Shinso. The class erupted with questions since they didn't know sign language and they didn't know what he said. One of the transfer students who was new and only on their 5th day asked Hitsushi, why don't you tell us what you signed? The man glanced at the boy and then at Hitoshi. Is he not mute? The transfer kid answered. No, I've heard him talk a bit. No one answers him ever though. The man was about to ask a question to Hitoshi when the loud kid interrupted. No, you can't talk to him. It's a rule, everyone knows it. He might brainwash you because he's a villain, remember? I thought we already told him this, the kid says, turning to the kid behind them. Oh, the transfer says in a small voice. Then the man clears his voice. What this kid signed to me was that I was an underground hero, and that is the correct answer. I am here to give you all a quick lesson on quirk discrimination. I am a pro. They are giving a bunch of the least recognizable pros the job of going to schools and teaching about work discrimination since it's not something that's already taught at some schools. The class was silent, dead silent. Let's start. Discrimination is something that has been a part of our society since the first people got quirks. Originally, those with quirks were discriminated against for being different, but as the years went on, more people started getting quirks, and less people were quirkless, which made things flip. Quirkless people now have a suicide rate of 85.6% per year, and as you know, 20% of the population is quirkless. Quirk discrimination is not a good thing. It leads to more villains in our society, which makes the heroes work harder to save people, and by creating more villains, there's an increase in the possibility of someone you care for dying. Quirk discrimination kills people whether you like it or not, so you all as kids need to learn this earlier better than later. Now I understand that you all have your reasons for whatever you are doing, but it still does not justify that you're hurting others. You're being villainous. I don't know what any of your quirks are, and I don't know any of your strengths or weaknesses, but just because someone can't do what you can doesn't mean you have a right to hurt them, and if you're being hurt you have the right to do something about it, and I'm not saying to hurt them back or attack them. No, that would be worse. I would say to find help or someone who can support you. If you don't already have that, you could find a parent or teacher, or in the worst case, a pro or maybe a police officer if you don't have any of the others. If you know someone quirkless or someone who's being discriminated against, then take this opportunity and help them. That is my speech. I will let your teacher back in and I will be off to the next class. If anyone has any follow-up questions, you can find me after school. I will be somewhere at pickup if you truly need to talk. I'm sure you'll find me or I'll find you. My name is Eraserhead Underground Pro Hero. Thank you for listening. And enjoy the rest of your classes. And with that the man left. Why a main Tango Celeste, Izuku said as he ran over to the stairs where they had just come onto his floor though. And you must be Irene. It's a pleasure to meet you. I've heard about you from these 3-inch. Hopefully all good things. She said, chuckling. Yep, all good. Right? I'm Hanako Suzuki, he said with a smile. Wait, what? That's not your name, it's Izuku Midoriya, right? Oh no, Cell, did I forget his name? No. Tango said, whining to her best friend. No, he said his name was Izuku Midoriya positive. Explain, also call me Cell, Celeste said to Izuku. Oh sorry, yeah, I keep forgetting what identity I'm in. My real name is Izuku Midoriya. I was presumed to have been kidnapped. Well no wait, that did happen but I got out. Oh anyways, my identity for school is Hanako Suzuki quirkless. 4. The Vigilant Cat. I am Akari Menka quirk -8 makes me look 8 years younger than I am. That's obviously fake. He said like it was common knowledge. I was gonna say that I like your hair dye, but I'm now assuming that's your original hair color? Amain said in a silly yet surprised voice. Wait a sec. Oh, we were all working at the Vigilant Cat together. OMG, you should have told me, Tango. Irene said dramatically, flopping backwards onto Tango as they followed Izuku to his comfy room. By the way, Izuku already knows their quirks and that Amain is quirkless, but pretend he didn't know Irene's quirk since my dumbass forgot. I'm sorry. Izuku looked at Irene, seeing her ears and small tail. She looked like a bear. Was that her quirk? Hey Irene, question. He said as they all sat on the cushions, bean bags and couches. Izuku sat on the small couch, Irene and Tango on the giant beanbag together, and Cell on a smaller beanbag with Amain on a cushion next to her. Yeah, what is it? She said, tilting her head in confusion. What's your quirk? Is it some type of bear quirk? Oh yeah, my quirk is literally called bear, well brown bear, but whatever. Anyways, so my quirk gives me claws that are retractable, great hearing, great strength, and I'm a bit better at climbing than average. Oh, I can talk to brown bears, though I've only met one. Lastly, I can turn into a brown bear, but that takes a lot of strength, so I use that as a last resort. And yeah, that's a basic rundown. She says, pointing to her nails to show them retract and pointing to her ears as she mentioned her hearing. That's awesome, he says, clearly in awe. He was about to start on rambling when Irene interrupted his thoughts. Sue, I have a question for you since you asked me one. Okay. Shoot. He says, mind still racing. You know that blondie? The one you keep bringing to your floor? Are you two dating? She says excitedly and surprisingly fast. What? Me and Kaken dating? What? No, of course not. He's my best friend. We've known each other since forever. It would be weird anyways if we did date each other. He says embarrassed. Oh, so you have thought of it? Irene says suspiciously. It's like they say friends first then lovers. Or something like that, I forget, huh? Tango says supportively after Irene. PSSDSL? Can you draw some popcorn? Pretty sure this is about to get good, thanks. Amain whispers, saying thanks after Cell gives them the popcorn. No problem. Cell whispers back. Do you like this Kaken kid? She says teasingly. His name is Katsuki Bakugu. He says a bit annoyed, I'm the only one who calls him Kaken. He mumbles. Somebody's protective. She says, Tango looking intrigued and starry-eyed at the new info. I've only seen him a few times, but I can already picture it. Tango said and then turned to Irene so they were facing each other. Ship. They said in unison. They talked for hours and hours until it was 2 a.m. and they all decided to go get some rest. Izuku had learned more details on the quirks of Tango and Celeste, and he learned other things as well. They gave him comms so that if he needed it he could call her back up from any of them, or if they wanted to join patrol or meet up or anything as vigilantes. He learned that Irene's family was actually really nice. The only reason she was staying in the building was so that she could hang out with Tango more, but also she wanted her own space away from her sibling and parents. And her parents were fine with it as long as she always made sure to contact them every day. Her parents agreed to her working because they thought it would be good for her to learn early on how to take care of herself and have a job. He talked a lot with Irene. Apparently Irene was also the most popular person in her school, which was not something he had expected from anyone he knew and was friends with because according to them they were friends. He told them about his life and about Bakugu with Irene and Tango teasing along with his descriptions. Izuku also learned all of their vigilante names. Irene is Cub. Tango is Singsong. Celeste is the illustrator. Amain is Foggy Mist or Misty. They were indecisive. It was the best time he had had in a long time to say the least. They would have to do it again, but next time invite Kaken, and maybe even someone else if any of them had any other friends. It felt nice to have friends, Izuku thought. Maybe he could get Hitoshi's number. He knew him from the cafe, but Hitsushi didn't actually know it was him, and they had met while Izuku was disguised as Hanako and they had introduced themselves. Also he hadn't even spoken, probably quirk discrimination. He got some water and texted Kaken a quick good night, like he always did before he went to bed, then he turned off the light and fell into a deep yet happy sleep. Kidnapped child found dead after almost 8 years. On August 13, 2XXX at 8:56 p.m., 11-year-old Izuku Midoriya's body was found on the shore of Dagoba Beach, skull bashed in. Police suspect whoever kidnapped the child did some kind of experiments since there is a lot of evidence in the form of scars on his skin. Whoever left the body likely is the kidnapper. Keep your children safe and take good care of them. This kidnapper is still on the loose. Chapter 5. An encounter of the sludgiest kind. This part with Shota was supposed to be in the last chapter. I'm sorry. It had been a week since Shota had gone to Naba Middle School, the school Shinso attends, and given his speech. In this week he had seen the purple-haired kid 3 times. The first time was when he had just started his new patrol route. He had seen the kid walking around in his school uniform. Normally that would be fine, but in this case it wasn't since it was 5 a.m. when this kid was out. Most schools in the area started around 8 a.m. The second time he saw him, the kid was talking to someone else who looked his age. They were both wearing school uniforms, though the uniforms were different, so they likely went to different schools. So maybe they were just friends out of school. They were feeding cats together and chatting. It was 7 a.m., so a little bit later than the first time, but the kid looked so tired he figured he must have gone out around 5 a.m. again. The last and most recent time he saw the kid was during a later time of his patrol. It was 12 on a Saturday. Although it was normal for kids to be awake, especially on the weekend, this kid was sitting on a roof at 12 p.m. just staring aimlessly at the stars. Therefore it wasn't really as normal. The kid didn't seem suicidal, so he wasn't worried about that, but he never seemed to be sleeping. Maybe he had insomnia, based off the way the kid's at school treated him. He probably had a villainous quirk. Shota just hoped that his family supported him. All the times he had seen the kid, he never had too many injuries, a few bruises, but they were likely from school, which still wasn't good. Whatcha thinking about Sho? You seem deep in thought. Hisashi said energetically. He sighs. You know that purple-haired kid that I keep talking about from Nabu? He says in a tired yet annoyed voice. Of course I remember the little listener. You were talking about how you wish your students were as observant as him and how you were impressed by his sign language though he could talk dash. Yes him. Well, you know how I saw him 3 times this week since my change in patrol route? He says, cutting Hisashi off. Yeah. He reminds me of my younger self. I want to see if I can ask if he wants to be a hero dash. What? The great Eraserhead is going to have a personal student? No way show. That's great news. Now I gotta meet him if he's that important. He uses his quirk but Shota shuts it off before they get kicked out of their apartment again. If you use your quirk one more time we're going to have to move again. If that happens again we're not going to be able to get an apartment. He says annoyed. We'll probably be banned because you're so loud, next place we stay at and we're going to have to make soundproofing. He mumbles. We have to celebrate show. He says brightly. I haven't even asked the kid, plus he probably forgot about me by now. He grumbles. 4 years later Izuku is 14. This is 3 years after the news came out that he was dead. It was currently one of Izuku's days off work so he decided to go for a walk. It was early in the day and not many people were around. He was cold since it had been a cold morning so he decided to go to the Vigilant Cat so he could get something to drink and be with the cats for a bit. He hoped maybe Hitoshi would be there so he could maybe ask for his number. It had been years since their first meeting and they had talked a lot before each school day though they never ended up seeing each other during the summer. Though Hitoshi had used sign language until 2 years ago, now he was finally speaking normally. He explained that he never spoke because he was worried about his quirk affecting others or that Izuku would treat him differently because of it. He had only started speaking after Izuku had told him he was quirkless. Maybe he felt more comfortable knowing that they were probably going through similar things? Well, he would probably never know. Izuku found that Hitoshi was an insomniac but also that his foster parents made him get out of the house really early. That only meant that Izuku was even more determined to become his friend so that he could help him find a better foster family or hopefully get adopted by a good family. Thank God his luck quirk was still working. He would enjoy it while it lasted because he knew that once it stops giving him luck most likely everything will go wrong since that's how it worked. It gives you luck for a while but once it reaches its max it'll SWS and give you bad luck, and it's constantly turned on. Bad luck can end up being good luck but normally that is not the case. Once the bad luck gets to its max then it'll SWS to good luck. It had been years since he had stolen this quirk but he figured out that the reason he had been able to escape his father was because his luck quirk had finally reached its max of bad luck and it had such to good luck. It had taken years of his life so he was not surprised that it was working since he escaped till now, though he knew it was only about a year till it would probably stop working. And boy was he dreading it. He walked into the cafe waving to Sella Main who were working today. At work Izuku was in the front bringing out orders to the people who came in, Tango worked at the cashier taking orders, Celeste made drinks in the front or back, Main baked in the back making cookies, biscuits and other treats, and Irene cooked more savory food also in the back but she loved helping customers so sometimes her and Izuku would SW. There were others who worked there as well but he didn't know them. Everyone who worked there who weren't already friends just kind of left each other alone since that's how they liked it. He ordered a Meowcha latte and sat down on one of the bean bags. Soon one his favorite cats hopped up on his lap. "Aw hello there Mookie," he said petting the cat. Kidnapped child found dead after almost 8 years. On August 13, 2XXX at 8:56 p.m. 11-year-old Izuku Midoriya's body was found on the shore of Dagoba Beach, skull bashed in. Police suspect whoever kidnapped the child did some kind of experiments since there is a lot of evidence in the form of scars on his skin. Whoever left the body likely is the kidnapper. Keep your children safe and take good care of them. This kidnapper is still on the loose. He liked reading the article every now and then even though it was old news. It gave him comfort knowing that his father thought he was dead. "I didn't know you came here, what are you reading?" A tired voice says from in front of him. Wait, in front of him, when did he? "Oh yeah, I love this place, and I'm reading an article from 3 years ago," he says with a smile, setting down his phone to pet Mookie. "Mookie seems to like you a lot," he says nonchalantly. "He's a sweetheart, he loves everyone," he says gleaming. "Isn't that right, Mookie?" The cat meows as if on cue. Hitoshi chuckles, "He sure is." Hey Hitoshi, I was wondering if we could trade numbers? We've known each other for 4 years now and I think it would be nice, so maybe we can schedule a time to hang out. Oh yeah, sure. Hitoshi thought to himself, had never gotten anyone his age to give him their number, but I guess he didn't know his quirk yet. Hitoshi felt like he was taking advantage of Hanako. He had to tell him sometime. But waiting a bit more won't hurt, right? Thanks. I'll text you sometime, he says brightly. Yeah, I seriously don't get how you can be so diamond bright all the time. He grumbles. Watch your tongue, there are cats listening. They don't care, right Mookie? The cat on Izuku's lap meows. You traitor. After all the treats I've given you, this is how you repay me? He says dramatically. The cat meows again and Izuku pretends to faint. 8:23 p.m. Years worth of notes. Hey, is this Hitoshi? Cat nap insomniac. Yeah, this Hanako? Years worth of notes. Yup. Cat nap insomniac changed their name to Hitoshi. Years worth of notes changed their name to Hanako. Hanako, the school year is ending in a few weeks, so if you're not busy we should hang out during the summer this year. Hitoshi, sounds good to me. 10:05 p.m. Hitoshi, I know I asked before but you never answer, do you want to be a hero? I mean, you do love taking notes and I'm sure you could since you are super strong from what I've seen. Hanako, I did for a while but I don't think it's for me. I don't think it would work out since I'm quirkless. I didn't tell you but I'm training and learning to fight for self-defense since I tend to get picked on a lot since I'm quirkless. Hitoshi, we should train together sometime then. I want to be a hero and prove the people who called me a villain wrong. I've been taking classes with an underground pro. Hanako, yeah, we should train together over the summer. Wait, you trained with an underground pro and didn't care to tell me? Also, how the hell do you know a pro Toshi? Spill. Hitoshi, it's really no big deal. The guy came to my school for some speech. On quirk discrimination, apparently they went around to all the schools. You probably had it with a different pro though. Eraserhead was the one that came to my school. About 2 weeks later he approached me on my way to school and he talked with me. He said that he liked how observant I was and that I reminded him of his younger self, and he asked me what my quirk was. After I told him, he asked me if I wanted to be a hero. I obviously responded, yes. And then he said, good, because I'm going to train you to be one, and that was it. Hanako, you're so lucky bro, I wish that happened to me. Eraserhead is literally the best. Death Arms came to my school. Hitoshi, so are you any good at fighting? Cause I've been training for the past 4 years with Eraserhead, so I'm pretty good if I do say so myself. Hanako, 4 years? PFE, I've been training for most of my life since I was 4. Hitoshi, I don't know if I should be impressed or worried. What were you doing training at 4 years old? Hanako, me and my friend would pretend to be heroes. I mean, it wasn't really training. Hitoshi, then HM. Okay, well anyways. When do you want to meet up? Hanako, well my school ends next Friday, so how Saturday? Hitoshi, sounds good. My school ends Thursday, so that works. Hanako, okay then. Let's meet at the Vigilant Cat. Does that work? Hitoshi. Hanako, perfect. See ya later Toshi. Hitoshi, bye. Today was the last day of school for Izuku and Katsuki. Izuku had hoped they could spend the day together celebrating, however Kaken was busy with his family, which meant they went different way home. He was walking down an alleyway when suddenly he sensed something behind him. By the time he turned around it was too late. He was already engulfed in the slime creature. Different house, different location for attack. He struggled to get out or pull it away, but he couldn't, and soon the sludge was going down his throat, not letting him breathe in any way. It was horrible. He was trying to yell but he couldn't. Don't worry, I'm just taking over your body. It'll be easier for both of us. If you don't fight back it'll only hurt for a minute, you'll feel better soon. The sludge monster villain said. I can't breathe, he thought as he tried to grasp onto the sludge. Grab all you want, my body is made of fluid. Thanks for the help, you're a real hero. The sludge villain said. Weak? I think I'm dying. I didn't know he was in the city. I got to get out of here fast before he tracks me down. My body is getting weaker. It like that one time. With my father, he said to let your body go limp and dash. But have no fear, you're safe. Now that I am here, that is, Texas Smash. Is that? Oh. My. He opens his eyes. Hey, wake up, Heyo? Thought we lost you there. Ah? Well, looks like you're moving around all right. Sorry about that back there. I didn't mean to get you caught up in my justicing. Usually I pay more attention to keeping bystanders safe, but it turns out this city's sewer system is pretty difficult to navigate. Ha. Anyway, you are a big help. I have captured the evildoer. All Might hold up a plastic bottle with the sludge inside. The most amazing hero in the world, All Might, the real thing in the flesh, standing right in front of me. He looks so much cooler in person. Holy CRP, I gotta get an autograph. I got a pen, have a pen somewhere around here. He sees his notebook. Please sign my notebook. He already did. Thank you so much. This will be a family heirloom for generations to come. Aha. All Might says with a thumbs up. Well, I got to get this guy to the police so they can take care of him and stay out of trouble. See you around. Wait, you're leaving? Already? He says, standing up. Pro heroes are always fighting time as well as enemies. He says, getting ready to jump and leave. He can't go yet. I still have so many questions I have to ask him. Now stand back, I'm taking off. Thanks for your continued support. Ha! Izuku grabs onto his leg. Ah! Hey, what do you think you're doing? I love my fans, but this is too much. All Might says as they go through the sky. No, please, we're flying. If I let go now, I'll die. Wait, that's not true. I could probably use one of my quirks to STO dash. Oh, that's a good point. I just have a lot of things I want to ask you personally. All Might lands on the roof of a building. I have to go now, he says, walking away. My life has been so tough and I've had so many crazy moments with my father especially, but All Might is the best hero and my father is the worst since they're enemies, so if All Might thinks I can be a hero, then what's stopping me? He thinks as he stands on the roof. Is it possible for me to be a hero with a very villainous quirk? And if my father was maybe a villain, I'm the son of a villain with a quirk that would be hard to use for hero work. Could I ever dream of being a hero like you? He says. All Might pauses. With a villainous quirk? All Might coughs. At school people make fun of me for being quirkless, but I can't help feel guilty because of my quirk and my past. But ever since I was a kid I've always wanted to be a hero who saves people with a smile, and I want people to see my fearless smile and feel safe. I wanted to be a hero like you, but I'm not sure anymore if that's possible for someone like me. Then he looks up to see? What happened? You deflated. Where did All Might go? You're not him, you're an imposter. I assure you that I am All Might. Then his mouth drips blood. You know how guys at the pool are always skinning it in and flexing to look buff? Well, I'm kind of like that. This can't be real, he says, surprised. All Might lifts his shirt up to show a giant scar. Pretty gross, right? I got this in a fight 5 years back. My respiratory system and stomach were completely ruined. I lost my whole stomach. All the surgeries have pretty much worn me out. It can't be fixed. Right now I can only do hero work for 3 hours a day, so the rest of the time this is what I look like. No way. 5 years ago? So does that mean it was the fight with Toxic Chainsaw? Wow, you know your stuff, but no, that man landed some hits, but he couldn't bring me down. Most of the world has never heard of this fight. I did everything I could to keep it under wraps. I'm supposed to be the guy who's always smiling, right? And the symbol of peace. People everywhere have to think that I'm never afraid. But honestly, I smiled to hide the fear inside. This job isn't easy. Pro heroes are always having to risk their lives, and you can't kill villains as a hero. You also have to save people. So can you be a hero with a villainous power? I would say no, because people need to have someone they can look up to and feel safe. A villainous quirk would do the opposite. If you really want to help people, there are plenty of other ways to do it without using your quirk. It's not bad to have a dream, young man, just make sure your dreams are attainable and realistic. With that, All Might leaves, leaving Izuku on the rooftop alone. Boom. What was that? A villain. Ah, just like me, maybe it would be better dash. Boom. Wait a second. Boom. That sounds like Kachin's quirk. Izuku runs and starts jumping from the rooftop to rooftop. He is really grateful that he had been training for the past 4 years and a bit grateful for his father's gruesome training, but that didn't matter. Once he gets to the closest building to the explosions, he sees it, the sludge villain. It must have escaped when he grabbed on to All Might. F-dash. He runs down the fire escape, using his speed enhancer, and starts running to help. Kakin was yelling and making explosions trying to escape from its hold. And the heroes were standing by doing nothing. Wait, what the hell? Why weren't the heroes helping? Not the time, not the time. He dashes towards his friend, throwing his backpack at the villain and then punching it a few times with no effect. What are you doing here, you effing nerd? Get out of here! Kakin yells. No. I'm not going to leave you. On the count of 3, make as big an explosion as you can, don't worry about me, I'll be fine. 1, 2, 3, boom. Izuku pulls him from behind as he makes an explosion towards the villain. Izuku pulls him away and they run to the sidelines. The opposite of the heroes. As they left towards an ally, All Might went to put the villain in a bottle again while it was still stunned. They walk into the ally and stand in silence for 2 minutes until, what the F dash? You could have been hurt. And you could have died. Izuku snaps back, running into him and hugging him tightly. This seems like the perfect place to tell him. Izuku thinks, pushing Katsuki away so he can speak. By the way, I'm not going to be a hero, I'm going to be a vigilante. Silence. What? You can't just say that out of nowhere, and this is not the time nor place. Katsuki says, taking a step back so he can look him in the eye. Well, you never know if something like this is going to happen again, and so I don't want to lose the opportunity. I was planning on starting soon, that's why I've been training so much with you and my neighbors, and I'm going to start training with Hitoshi. He says openly. I still haven't met that BSTRD. When are you going to introduce me? It's been years. Huh, you jealous I'm not spending all my time with you? He teases. Not the time for jokes. You DMN nerd. He chuckles, let's go. They walk to where all the heroes are and soon Bakugo is swarmed by the media. Izuku gets scolded for his reckless behavior. It's a quiet walk home for Katsuki after he and Izuku part ways. Once he arrives home, his parents rush toward him. He can't stop thinking about how Izuku had risked his life to save him and how after what they had just gone through with the heroes scolding Izuku like he had done something wrong even though he had done their jobs for them, he was going home to an empty home. His mother wasn't going to be there to comfort him. Katsuki, are you listening to me, you brat? We were worried. His mother yells with tears in her eyes. Sorry. I was lost in thought, okay? He said angrily. The kid who saved you, is that your new friend? Hanako? You talk about him a lot. His father said while trying to calm Mitsuki down. Yeah, it was, he heard my explosions and came. He says in an annoyed tone. When are you going to bring his but over? You need friends. I don't need your help, old hag. Leave me alone, he says and then storms to his room. He grabs his phone and sits on his bed. 6:30 p.m. Katsuki. Hey Zu? You awake? Hanako. Remember, it's Hanako. Zu is no more and I'm awake, yes. Katsuki. Right, Hanako? Well, are you okay, nerd? Hanako. Huh? Yes, I'm fine, Kakin. Katsuki. Who are you with right now? Hanako. No one? Katsuki. I'm heading there now. Hanako. But you just, I mean your family wants to be with you probably and I don't matter, so stay. There was more to that message, but Katsuki turned his phone off to not read it. He walks out of his room. I'm going to Hanako's place. But you just got back from being attacked, you shouldn't go out. His father reasons. I don't even care, I'll be home tomorrow. He leaves without another word. Izuku was chilling in his cozy corner when the door slammed open and Kakin walked in. Kakin said nothing, he just went up to him and hugged him, sitting down beside him. Soon Izuku fell asleep on his best friend's chest with a bunch of squishmallows surrounding them. Izuku yawned as he woke up to an unfamiliar warmth. What was that? Wait, Kakin? What was he doing here? Then he remembered. Kakin came in and hugged him and he ended up falling asleep. He couldn't help thinking it was kind of like when they were younger. He missed it and he enjoyed the warmth. Stop moving. Go back to bed, Katsuki said groggily. Oh, okay, he said, laying back on Katsuki hesitantly. Katsuki puts an arm around him and falls back asleep. Izuku, however, is not going to fall asleep. His mind and heart are racing too fast. I'll let you interpret that how you want. About 1 hour later, when Izuku is finally calm again, Katsuki wakes up. Morning, nerd. A morning, Kakin. He says nervously. What's wrong? Nothing, he squeaks as he stands up. He ended up standing up too fast and got dizzy. Idiot, Katsuki says under his breath, standing up to grab Izuku so he doesn't fall. Thanks Kaken, he says smiling at Katsuki, his eyes so bright they put the stars to shame. Whatever nerd, Katsuki says stepping away from him. I hope he looks at me and thinks shit he's so pretty. Wait, what am I thinking? I'm not gay. Why would I think I'm not gay? What's wrong with me? Shit am I? But no, I'm not. Well, maybe wait, I never did like girls and ugh, what's going on? Those eyes are so pretty, it's like I'm falling deep into them. Man, he is so cute and adorable, I just want to cuddle him to death and dash. You good Kaken? Izuku says looking up at Katsuki. I'm fine Zu, what do you have here? I'm making breakfast. Not sure you can check the fridge and pantry, you know where everything is. Can you make dash? Katsudon? Sure, he says interrupting Izuku and not letting him finish. You're the best Kaken, he says smiling. Somewhere else. Irene and Tango make eye contact. Something just happened. Tango says, I think we just sensed our ship starting to sail, Irene says, smile widening comically. They grin widely at each other. Later they may or may not have had a small dance party in celebration. Once Katsuki got home, he went to his computer and looked up. Am I gay test? He did about 23 different tests, 19 of which were positive, the other 4 said he was bisexual. Vigilante will come in next chapter Srey. Though I may have that next chapter ready by Friday, no promises. Chapter 6, Bisexual Special. Notes: this week was Bisexual Awareness Week. Plus today is September 23rd and it is Bisexual Day. Therefore I'm making a special episode for some of the bi characters in the Verdant Analyst. My update day is once a week on either Wednesday, Thursday or Friday, and today is Monday. This will not count for this week's chapter, plus it'll be shorter than most chapters, probably. I haven't written it yet at this point. Hey Cell. Tango said, knocking on Celeste's door. Come in, she says, standing up from her seat. Guess what today is? Tango says excitedly. What? Celeste says, confused while she thinks of what could be so exciting today. It's Bisexual Day. We gotta tell Izuku. She says, jumping up and down. Seriously? He only recently told us that he was bi, so I'm not sure if we really should. Nah, let's go. She says, grabbing Celeste's arm and pulling her out the door and to the stairs. They arrived on Izuku's floor and went to his main room, knocking on the door about 10 times before they heard footsteps. Izuku opens the door. Who? Oh hey Cell, hey Tango, did you two need something? He says, opening the door for the 2 girls, letting them enter. Yes, they said in unison. Oh okay, what is it? He said as he sat down at the table with them. Well, today is Bisexual Day. And well, it was Bisexual Awareness Week this week, but I found out today. But anyways, need to celebrate. Tango says brightly while Cell smiles at them both. I mean, that sounds good and all, but what do we do? Plus I only just found out that was bi, even though Irene was surprised that I didn't know, and the only reason she knew is because I have mentioned liking girls, and then she saw that I like Kaken and always thought a hus like it kakanesa best friender samathingon dimean dash. Hey, let's stay on track Izuku, Celeste said, cutting him off of his ramblings. Well, since you haven't actually gone out as a vigilante yet, today could be your first time and we could all go with the 3 of us and we could do something big to show we're bi. Tango says in a silly tone. I mean, it would be cool for the first time, so, sure, he says, unsure if he made the right decision. Don't worry, we won't do anything too bad, Hiei. Celeste said, laughing maniacally at the end, with Tango joining in as well. Well, that was something. Oh, remember that video we asked you to be in that one time? It was for the Ducklings channel, remember? How about we make some videos for it starring the bisexual ones on the team? There are details on the Ducklings in the next chapter, Tango says after recovering from the manic laughter from just before. That's a good idea. How about we find some homophobic people online and make a video of us pranking them or something? I don't know, would that be something we want to do? Celeste says, shrugging. Yes, totally. What do you think of Izuku? Tango says, turning to him. That sounds like so much fun. We could live stream while we do stuff today. Tango nods as Celeste says, yes, sounds good. Let's get on our suits. Wait, Izuku, does your costume still fit? I mean, you made it years ago, so? Tango said, standing up. Oh no, I got it early since I was planning on starting early, but I recently got a new one since you're right and it didn't fit. Izuku said, partly embarrassed. Cool, well let's change, meet on the roof at 10? Celeste says calmly. He nods and the two girls get up and head to their floor. Izuku, now in his vigilante outfit, went up to the roof. He thought about his vigilante name. He was the analyst online, but he didn't really want that as his vigilante name when he patrolled. He decided he could just let the media name him. He pushed open the door and stepped onto the roof. Hey, Cell is setting up the live stream so that a drone will record. Amain is controlling it and Irene is there with them watching. She wanted to watch it since she is lesbian and didn't want to interrupt the group of bisexuals. Tango says to Izuku as he walks over to where the two were. Cool, wait, aren't you worried about being recognized in that? You didn't dye your hair, you have your mouth covered by the mask and you have those glasses, but won't people recognize you? He said in a worried tone. Nah, it's fine, my family hasn't seen me in years and they think I'm dead. Same goes for Cell. When I was younger the black hadn't grown in either, plus my family never bothered to learn about my quirk, so they think I can use telekinesis when I'm humming a certain tune, which is not true, but they never cared to learn more. Plus my personality is basically swapped from then compared to now, since I used to be quiet and stuff. I'm really not that worried, and if they do recognize me they'll probably leave me, since when I was kidnapped with Cell they just said I died and didn't bother to look for me, so it would probably be worse for them since my mom is a pro and my brother is gonna probably be a hero with his quirk and stuff. Oh, also Celeste's mom is a pro too, she said, and leaned on the wall since they still had about 10 minutes until they would start the live stream. You were kidnapped as well? And your mom is a pro? And Celeste's? He says, very surprised. Yeah, well, first my mom is a pro, her hero name is Mind Mover, her quirk is telekinesis, and she's a minor pro, and Celeste's mom is sort of her sidekick, her hero name is Kiro, which Cell said is random, and her quirk is some kind of like thing that makes whatever she touches come to life. I kind of dozed off when she was explaining, but they kind of work together and were a duo. Well, so my quirk is a mix of my dad's quirk and my mom's. I said my mom's, but my dad's quirk is auto-tune and makes him sing perfectly, and he's actually a singer, but that doesn't matter. Well, so anyways, 2 years after I was born my brother was born Okami. His quirk is particle control, which is an enhanced version of my grandfather's quirk. When my parents found out about it they gave him everything and trained him so he could become a hero. My mom introduced my brother to Cell in the hopes that they could become friends and help each other become heroes, since my mom and Celeste's mom are friends. They both went to the same private school while I was sent to some random public school. I actually met Irene there, but anyways. Some stuff about Celeste's past: her father is a pretty famous painter and they're rich. She had an older sister, but she never really told me what happened to that sister, or maybe she did but I probably fell asleep already, whatever, you can ask her. Her father is also a part of the Yaoyorozu family, which probably helps with the success. Her father has a quirk that lets him analyze things and find their imperfections and how to fix them, which makes him a very successful person. Her family is very strict with her and they're pretty snobby. Cell's older sister has a quirk that basically if she sees something that's imperfect or she wants something to be perfect, her quirk will show her the steps she needs to take to get to her perfection, whether it's finding something, making something, or something like that, I don't know. One day when I was walking home from school, since my parents never bothered to pick me up, I was knocked out and taken. For Celeste, she was also kidnapped by the same person as me, but it happened differently and they needed her for her quirk. They wanted me to help protect their merchandise and kidnap new recruiters, but anyways, Celeste was being driven back from her school when she noticed her driver wasn't the usual one, and then when she spoke up to ask where her normal driver was, someone came from the trunk of the car and knocked her out. She woke up in a small room with a bunk bed. We were sharing a room and that's how we got to know each other. She said all of this not letting Izuku speak as she spoke quickly, barely stopping to breathe in between, and then she was interrupted by Celeste. It's ready, come on, let's start the live stream. Cell said, speaking loudly so they heard her. They walk there and then the stream starts, barely giving him time to think of everything he had just learned. He knew something had happened for them to have grown so close, but not that. And who was the person or group from what it sounds like? He would have to learn more about later, because right now they had a live stream to record. Hello everybody. Sing Song here to celebrate Bisexual Awareness Week and Bisexual Day. I actually just learned a bit ago that it was today, so we're a bit late, sorry. Here with two of the other ducklings who are bisexual in our group. We were thinking today we could prank some homophobic people. We're not really sure what we're going to do yet, but you guys can sit back and watch us as we find something to do to celebrate. Sing Song says, grinning widely, not that anyone could see it. Are we going to do this or what? Let's go. Misty has already sent us the location of a few homophobic people in the area. Illustrator says merrily, let's do this. Analyst says, he is not Verdant yet since they haven't given him the name, but they will after this stream sometime. The three vigilantes jump from rooftop to rooftop, drone following close behind until they reach the first person. They ended up dyeing the hair of this homophobic person since they were currently napping in their house. They also may or may not have painted a mustache on their face before leaving 3 ducks, a purple one, a red one, and of course a green one. The next unlucky person was in their car stuck in traffic, so the 3 walked up to the car and knocked on the window, and when the guy ignored them they broke the windows. Then they got into the car and pushed the guy out, though none of them knew how to drive, so they settled for painting on the car bisexual flags everywhere. The man had run away, probably to call the police, and the traffic, well, it was still traffic, it hadn't moved at all, so they weren't worried. Plus other people were recording them or saying they recognized them. Some people laughed and some people cheered. Then there was some people who were clearly calling the police, so they made a run for it. The next few people went sort of like this. One woman got her hair dyed a lovely magenta, purple and blue, courtesy of the analyst, Izuku, because he had expertise when it came to dyeing his hair. The lady was screaming while she was tied to the chair, and once they were done they untied her and let her go. She was furious and called the police, but they didn't care. Then they walked out in search for their next victim, who was an old Christian lady who said she was Christian, but really everyone knew she wasn't. Her name was Susan, and everyone knew her because she was crazy and annoying as hell. They ended up leaving her alone. Well, sort of. First they planted 3 paint bombs in her house and watched as the house got covered in magenta, purple and blue paint. The very last person was a man in his 20s who had cyber-bullied many bisexual people and other LGBTQ people. They beat him up and then left him hanging to a lamppost, courtesy of Sing Song, using her quirk to get him up there. Afterwards they decorated the same lamppost with many bows, magenta, purple and blue colors, and they left their signature ducks, of course, after they called the police because they didn't actually want the man to be hurt too much. Once they got back they sat on the roof and talked and laughed about everything. They couldn't see anything of what people were commenting on the video since it was a drone that was following them and recording everything, but they would be sure to rewatch it later. Cup came to them and told them it was time to end the stream since the drone was getting low on battery, so they said goodbye to the viewers and turned it off. That was fun. I had a great time, thanks, Izuku said as they walked down the stairs. His floor was first, so he just wanted to say bye before they parted ways for today. No problem. We had lots of fun too, Cell said, looking at Tango, who nodded vigorously. Yeah, and it was super fun to watch with Amain, Irene said to the other 3. Nice, well bye. I'll see you guys later. With that they parted ways. 9:25 p.m. Katsuki, hey, I saw your live stream. I didn't know you were BI. We never really talked about that stuff. I just wanted to say that you can tell me anything. 9:39 p.m. Hanako, sorry. I just got back to my room, so it took a sec to respond. Yeah, I guess it really just never came up. I would have told you, but it was never relevant. Katsuki, oh okay, that makes sense. Well, I am gay. It feels like I should tell you since I know you are bi, so yeah. Hanako, how can texting be this awkward? Hanako, oh. Shrey, I texted at the SME time. Ugh, typos. Well, that's great. Cool and nice to know. I fully support you. Katsuki, Hidix. Good night, Hanako, and you better sleep. Hanako, okay, Kaken. I will. Good night. Unseen. Phew, finally done. Sorry if this is rushed because it is. Chapter 5. An encounter of the sludgiest kind. This part with Shota was supposed to be in the last chapter. I'm sorry. It had been a week since Shota had gone to Naba Middle School, the school Shinso attends, and given his speech. In this week he had seen the purple-haired kid 3 times. The first time was when he had just started his new patrol route. He had seen the kid walking around in his school uniform. Normally that would be fine, but in this case it wasn't, since it was 5 a.m. when this kid was out. Most schools in the area started around 8 a.m. The second time he saw him, the kid was talking to someone else who looked his age. They were both wearing school uniforms, though the uniforms were different, so they likely went to different schools. So maybe they were just friends out of school. They were feeding cats together and chatting. It was 7 a.m., so a little bit later than the first time, but the kid looked so tired he figured he must have gone out around 5 a.m. again. The last and most recent time he saw the kid was during a later time of his patrol. It was 12 on a Saturday. Although it was normal for kids to be awake, especially on the weekend, this kid was sitting on a roof at 12 p.m. just staring aimlessly at the stars. Therefore it wasn't really as normal. The kid didn't seem suicidal, so he wasn't worried about that, but he never seemed to be sleeping. Maybe he had insomnia. Based off the way the kids at school treated him, he probably had a villainous quirk. Shota just hoped that his family supported him. All the times he had seen the kid, he never had too many injuries, a few bruises, but they were likely from school, which still wasn't good. "Whatcha thinking about Sho? You seem deep in thought," Hisashi said energetically. He sighs. "You know that purple-haired kid that I keep talking about from Nabu?" he says in a tired yet annoyed voice. "Of course I remember the little listener. You were talking about how you wish your students were as observant as him, and how you were impressed by his sign language though he could talk dash." "Yes, him. Well, you know how I saw him 3 times this week since my change in patrol route?" he says, cutting Hisashi off. "Yeah. He reminds me of my younger self. I want to see if I can ask if he wants to be a hero dash." "What? The great Eraserhead is going to have a personal student?" "No way, Sho. That's great news. Now I gotta meet him if he's that important." He uses his quirk, but Shota shuts it off before they get kicked out of their apartment again. "If you use your quirk one more time, we're going to have to move again. If that happens again, we're not going to be able to get an apartment," he says, annoyed. "We'll probably be banned because you're so loud. Next place we stay at, and we're going to have to make soundproofing," he mumbles. "We have to celebrate Sho," he says brightly. "I haven't even asked the kid, plus he probably forgot about me by now," he grumbles. 4 years later under Izuku is 14. This is 3 years after the news came out that he was dead. It was currently one of Izuku's days off work, so he decided to go for a walk. It was early in the day and not many people were around. He was cold since it had been a cold morning, so he decided to go to the Vigilant Cat so he could get something to drink and be with the cats for a bit. He hoped maybe Hitoshi would be there so he could maybe ask for his number. It had been years since their first meeting and they had talked a lot before each school day, though they never ended up seeing each other during the summer. Though Hitoshi had used sign language until 2 years ago, now he was finally speaking normally. He explained that he never spoke because he was worried about his quirk affecting others or that Izuku would treat him differently because of it. He had only started speaking after Izuku had told him he was quirkless. Maybe he felt more comfortable knowing that they were probably going through similar things? Well, he would probably never know. Izuku found that Hitoshi was an insomniac, but also that his foster parents made him get out of the house really early. That only meant that Izuku was even more determined to become his friend so that he could help him find a better foster family or hopefully get adopted by a good family. Thank God his luck quirk was still working. He would enjoy it while it lasted because he knew that once it stops giving him luck, most likely everything will go wrong, since that's how it worked. It gives you luck for a while, but once it reaches its max it'll SWS and give you bad luck, and it's constantly turned on. Bad luck can end up being good luck, but normally that is not the case. Once the bad luck gets to its max, then it'll SWS to good luck. It had been years since he had stolen this quirk, but he figured out that the reason he had been able to escape his father was because his luck quirk had finally reached its max of bad luck and it had such to good luck. It had taken years of his life, so he was not surprised that it was working since he escaped till now, though he knew it was only about a year till it would probably stop working. And boy was he dreading it. He walked into the cafe waving to Sella Main, who were working today. At work, Izuku was in the front bringing out orders to the people who came in. Tango worked at the cashier taking orders. Celeste made drinks in the front or back. Amain baked in the back making cookies, biscuits, and other treats, and Irene cooked more savory food also in the back, but she loved helping customers, so sometimes her and Izuku would SW. There were others who worked there as well, but he didn't know them. Everyone who worked there who weren't already friends just kind of left each other alone, since that's how they liked it. He ordered a miaucha latte and sat down on one of the bean bags. Soon one his favorite cats hopped up on his lap. "Aw, hello there, Mookie," he said, petting the cat. Kidnapped child found dead after almost 8 years. On August 13, 2XX at 8:56 p.m., 11-year-old Izuku Midoriya's body was found on the shore of Dagoba Beach, skull bashed in. Police suspect whoever kidnapped the child did some kind of experiments since there is a lot of evidence in the form of scars on his skin. Whoever left the body likely is the kidnapper. Keep your children safe and take good care of them. This kidnapper is still on the loose. He liked reading the article every now and then, even though it was old news. It gave him comfort knowing that his father thought he was dead. I didn't know you came here, what are you reading? A tired voice says from in front of him. Wait, in front of him, when did he? Oh yeah, I love this place, and I'm reading an article from 3 years ago. He says with a smile, setting down his phone to pet Mookie. Mookie seems to like you a lot. He says nonchalantly. He's a sweetheart, he loves everyone. He says gleaming. Isn't that right, Mookie? The cat meows as if on cue. Hitoshi chuckles, he sure is. Hey Hitoshi, I was wondering if we could trade numbers? We've known each other for 4 years now and I think it would be nice, so maybe we can schedule a time to hang out. Oh yeah, sure. Hitoshi thought to himself, had never gotten anyone his age to give him their number, but I guess he didn't know his quirk yet. Hitoshi felt like he was taking advantage of Hanako. He had to tell him sometime. But waiting a bit more won't hurt, right? Thanks. I'll text you sometime. He says brightly. Yeah, I seriously don't get how you can be so diamond bright all the time. He grumbles. Watch your tongue, there are cats listening. They don't care, right Mookie? The cat on Izuku's lap meows. You traitor. After all the treats I've given you, this is how you repay me? He says dramatically. The cat meows again and Izuku pretends to faint. 8:23 p.m. Years worth of notes. Hey, is this Hitoshi? Cat nap insomniac. Yeah, this Hanako? Years worth of notes. Yup. Cat nap insomniac changed their name to Hitoshi. Years worth of notes changed their name to Hanako. Hanako, the school year is ending in a few weeks, so if you're not busy we should hang out during the summer this year. Hitoshi, sounds good to me. 10:05 p.m. Hitoshi, I know I asked before but you never answer, do you want to be a hero? I mean, you do love taking notes and I'm sure you could since you are super strong from what I've seen. Hanako, I did for a while but I don't think it's for me. I don't think it would work out since I'm quirkless. I didn't tell you but I'm training and learning to fight for self-defense since I tend to get picked on a lot since I'm quirkless. Hitoshi, we should train together sometime then. I want to be a hero and prove the people who called me a villain wrong. I've been taking classes with an underground pro. Hanako, yeah, we should train together over the summer. Wait, you trained with an underground pro and didn't care to tell me? Also, how the hell do you know a pro Toshi? Spill. Hitoshi, it's really no big deal. The guy came to my school for some speech on quirk discrimination. Apparently they went around to all the schools. You probably had it with a different pro though. Eraserhead was the one that came to my school. About 2 weeks later he approached me on my way to school and he talked with me. He said that he liked how observant I was and that I reminded him of his younger self, and he asked me what my quirk was after I told him. He asked me if I wanted to be a hero. I obviously responded, yes. And then he said, good, because I'm going to train you to be one, and that was it. Hanako, you're so lucky bro, I wish that happened to me. Eraserhead is literally the best. Death Arms came to my school. Hitoshi, so are you any good at fighting? Cause I've been training for the past 4 years with Eraserhead, so I'm pretty good if I do say so myself. Hanako, 4 years? PFE, I've been training for most of my life since I was 4. Hitoshi, I don't know if I should be impressed or worried. What were you doing training at 4 years old? Hanako, me and my friend would pretend to be heroes. I mean, it wasn't really training. Hitoshi, then HM. Okay, well anyways. When do you want to meet up? Hanako, well my school ends next Friday, so how Saturday? Hitoshi, sounds good. My school ends Thursday, so that works. Hanako, okay then. Let's meet at the Vigilant Cat. Does that work? Hitoshi. Hanako, perfect. See ya later Toshi. Hitoshi, bye. Today was the last day of school for Izuku and Katsuki. Izuku had hoped they could spend the day together celebrating, however Kaken was busy with his family, which meant they went different way home. He was walking down an alleyway when suddenly he sensed something behind him. By the time he turned around it was too late. He was already engulfed in the slime creature. Different house, different location for attack. He struggled to get out or pull it away, but he couldn't, and soon the sludge was going down his throat, not letting him breathe in any way. It was horrible. He was trying to yell, but he couldn't. Don't worry, I'm just taking over your body. It'll be easier for both of us. If you don't fight back, it'll only hurt for a minute. You'll feel better soon. The sludge monster. Villain said. I can't breathe, he thought as he tried to grasp onto the sludge. Grab all you want, my body is made of fluid. Thanks for the help, you're a real hero. The sludge villain said. Weak? I think I'm dying. I didn't know he was in the city. I got to get out of here fast before he tracks me down. My body is getting weaker. It like that one time. With my father, he said to let your body go limp and dash. But have no fear, you're safe. Now that I am here, that is, Texas Smash. Is that? Oh. My. He opens his eyes. Hey, wake up, heyo? Thought we lost you there. Ah? Well, looks like you're moving around all right. Sorry about that back there. I didn't mean to get you caught up in my justicing. Usually I pay more attention to keeping bystanders safe, but it turns out this city's sewer system is pretty difficult to navigate. Ha. Anyway, you are a big help. I have captured the evildoer. All Might hold up a plastic bottle with the sludge inside. The most amazing hero in the world, All Might, the real thing in the flesh, standing right in front of me. He looks so much cooler in person. Holy CRP, I gotta get an autograph. I got a pen, have a pen somewhere around here. He sees his notebook. Please sign my notebook. He already did. Thank you so much, this will be a family heirloom for generations to come. Aha. All Might says with a thumbs up. Well, I got to get this guy to the police so they can take care of him and stay out of trouble. See you around. Wait, you're leaving? Already? He says, standing up. Pro heroes are always fighting time as well as enemies. He says, getting ready to jump and leave. He can't go yet. I still have so many questions I have to ask him. Now stand back, I'm taking off. Thanks for your continued support. Ah. Izuku grabs onto his leg. Ah. Hey, what do you think you're doing? I love my fans, but this is too much. All Might says as they go through the sky. No, please, we're flying. If I let go now, I'll die. Wait, that's not true. I could probably use one of my quirks to STO dash. Oh, that's a good point. I just have a lot of things I want to ask you personally. All Might lands on the roof of a building. I have to go now, he says, walking away. My life has been so tough and I've had so many crazy moments with my father especially, but All Might is the best hero and my father is the worst since they're enemies, so if All Might thinks I can be a hero, then what's stopping me? He thinks as he stands on the roof. Is it possible for me to be a hero with a very villainous quirk? And if my father was maybe a villain, I'm the son of a villain with a quirk that would be hard to use for hero work. Could I ever dream of being a hero like you? He says. All Might pauses. With a villainous quirk? All Might coughs. At school people make fun of me for being quirkless, but I can't help feel guilty because of my quirk and my past. But ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be a hero who saves people with a smile, and I want people to see my fearless smile and feel safe. I wanted to be a hero like you, but I'm not sure anymore if that's possible for someone like me. Then he looks up to see? What happened? You deflated. Where did All Might go? You're not him, you're an imposter. I assure you that I am All Might. Then his mouth drips blood. You know how guys at the pool are always skinning it in and flexing to look buff? Well, I'm kind of like that. This can't be real, he says, surprised. All Might lifts his shirt up to show a giant scar. Pretty gross, right? I got this in a fight 5 years back. My respiratory system and stomach were completely ruined. I lost my whole stomach. All the surgeries have pretty much worn me out. It can't be fixed. Right now I can only do hero work for 3 hours a day, so the rest of the time this is what I look like. No way. 5 years ago? So does that mean it was the fight with Toxic Chainsaw? Wow, you know your stuff, but no, that man landed some hits, but he couldn't bring me down. Most of the world has never heard of this fight. I did everything I could to keep it under wraps. I'm supposed to be the guy who's always smiling, right? And the symbol of peace. People everywhere have to think that I'm never afraid. But honestly, I smiled to hide the fear inside. This job isn't easy. Pro heroes are always having to risk their lives, And you can't kill villains as a hero, you also have to save people, so can you be a hero with a villainous power? I would say no, because people need to have someone they can look up to and feel safe. A villainous quirk would do the opposite. If you really want to help people, there are plenty of other ways to do it without using your quirk. It's not bad to have a dream, young man, just make sure your dreams are attainable and realistic. With that, All Might leaves, leaving Izuku on the rooftop alone. Boom. What was that? A villain. Ah, just like me, maybe it would be better dash. Boom. Wait a second. Boom. That sounds like Kachin's quirk. Izuku runs and starts jumping from the rooftop to rooftop. He is really grateful that he had been training for the past 4 years and a bit grateful for his father's gruesome training, but that didn't matter. Once he gets to the closest building to the explosions, he sees it, the sludge villain. It must have escaped when he grabbed on to All Might. F-dash. He runs down the fire escape using his speed enhancer and starts running to help. Kakin was yelling and making explosions trying to escape from its hold. And the heroes were standing by doing nothing. Wait, what the hell? Why weren't the heroes helping? Not the time, not the time. He dashes towards his friend, throwing his backpack at the villain and then punching it a few times with no effect. What are you doing here, you effing nerd? Get out of here. Kakin yells. No. I'm not going to leave you. On the count of 3, make as big an explosion as you can. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. 1, 2, 3, boom. Izuku pulls him from behind as he makes an explosion towards the villain. Izuku pulls him away and they run to the sidelines. The opposite of the heroes. As they left towards an ally, All Might went to put the villain in a bottle again while it was still stunned. They walk into the ally and stand in silence for 2 minutes until, what the F-dash? You could have been hurt. And you could have died. Izuku snaps back, running into him and hugging him tightly. This seems like the perfect place to tell him. Izuku thinks, pushing Katsuki away so he can speak. By the way, I'm not going to be a hero, I'm going to be a vigilante. Silence. What? You can't just say that out of nowhere, and this is not the time nor place. Katsuki says, taking a step back so he can look him in the eye. Well, you never know if something like this is going to happen again, and so I don't want to lose the opportunity. I was planning on starting soon, that's why I've been training so much with you and my neighbors, and I'm going to start training with Hitoshi. He says openly. I still haven't met that BSTRD. When are you going to introduce me? It's been years. Ha, you jealous I'm not spending all my time with you? He teases. Not the time for jokes. You DMN nerd. He chuckles, let's go. They walk to where all the heroes are and soon Bakugo is swarmed by the media. Izuku gets scolded for his reckless behavior. It's a quiet walk home for Katsuki after he and Izuku part ways. Once he arrives home, his parents rush toward him. He can't stop thinking about how Izuku had risked his life to save him, and how after what they had just gone through with the heroes scolding Izuku like he had done something wrong even though he had done their jobs for them, he was going home to an empty home. His mother wasn't going to be there to comfort him. Katsuki, are you listening to me, you brat? We were worried. His mother yells with tears in her eyes. Sorry. I was lost in thought, okay? He said angrily. The kid who saved you, is that your new friend? Hanako? You talk about him a lot. His father said while trying to calm Mitsuki down. Yeah, it was. He heard my explosions and came. He says in an annoyed tone. When are you going to bring his but over? You need friends. I don't need your help, old hag. Leave me alone, he says, and then storms to his room. He grabs his phone and sits on his bed. 6:30 p.m. Katsuki. Hey Zu? You awake? Hanako. Remember, it's Hanako. Zu is no more and I'm awake, yes. Katsuki. Right, Hanako? Well, are you okay, nerd? Hanako. Huh? Yes, I'm fine, Kakin. Katsuki. Who are you with right now? Hanako. No one? Katsuki. I'm heading there now. Hanako. But you just, I mean your family wants to be with you probably, and I don't matter, so stay. There was more to that message, but Katsuki turned his phone off to not read it. He walks out of his room. I'm going to Hanako's place. But you just got back from being attacked, you shouldn't go out. His father reasons. I don't even care, I'll be home tomorrow. He leaves without another word. Izuku was chilling in his cozy corner when the door slammed open and Kaken walked in. Kaken said nothing, he just went up to him and hugged him sitting down beside him. Soon Izuku fell asleep on his best friend's chest with a bunch of squishmallows surrounding them. Izuku yawned as he woke up to an unfamiliar warmth. What was that? Wait, Kaken? What was he doing here? Then he remembered. Kaken came in and hugged him and he ended up falling asleep. He couldn't help thinking it was kind of like when they were younger. He missed it and he enjoyed the warmth. Stop moving. Go back to bed, Katsuki said groggily. Oh okay, he said laying back on Katsuki hesitantly. Katsuki puts an arm around him and falls back asleep. Izuku, however, is not going to fall asleep. His mind and heart are racing too fast. I'll let you interpret that how you want. About 1 hour later, when Izuku is finally calm again, Katsuki wakes up. Morning, nerd. A morning, Kaken, he says nervously. What's wrong? Nothing, he squeaks as he stands up. He ended up standing up too fast and got dizzy. Idiot, Katsuki says under his breath, standing up to grab Izuku so he doesn't fall. Thanks, Kaken, he says smiling at Katsuki, his eyes so bright they put the stars to shame. Whatever, nerd, Katsuki says stepping away from him. I hope he looks at me and thinks shit, he's so pretty. Wait, what am I thinking? I'm not gay. Why would I think I'm not gay? What's wrong with me? Shit, am I? But no, I'm not. Well, maybe. Wait, I never did like girls and ugh, what's going on? Those eyes are so pretty, it's like I'm falling deep into them. Man, he is so cute and definitely adorable. I just want to cuddle him to death and dash. You good, Kaken? Izuku says looking up at Katsuki. I'm fine, Zu. What do you have here? I'm making breakfast. Not sure, you can check the fridge and pantry. You know where everything is. Can you make dash? Katsudon? Sure, he says, interrupting Izuku and not letting him finish. You're the best, Kaken, he says smiling. Somewhere else. Irene and Tango make eye contact. Something just happened. Tango says, I think we just sensed our ship starting to sail. Irene says, smile widening comically. They grin widely at each other. Later they may or may not have had a small dance party in celebration. Once Katsuki got home, he went to his computer and looked up. Am I gay test? He did about 23 different tests, 19 of which were positive. The other 4 said he was bisexual. Vigilante will come in next chapter, Shrey. Though I may have that next chapter ready by Friday, no promises. Chapter 8, First Days and Going Insane. So where are we going? Shinso says as they walk. Aizawa sighs. A friend of mine who works with the police texted me that he has some information on a case we're working on, he says in a tired voice. Shinso nods, turning the corner and seeing the station as they walked. They entered the station just to see nothing. And it wasn't that the place was silent. No, it was noisy. There just wasn't anyone there. Where is everyone? Is this normal, sensei? Is it normally this empty? He asks in a bored yet confused tone. No, normally not, he says, guiding Shinso towards a room with the name Interrogation Room 1. Aizawa opens the door, showing a tired Tsukachi Naomesa. What happened? Where is everyone? Before he can finish, he is interrupted. It's protocol. I know you know that, son. He doesn't back down one bit. Besides, an individual's experience will never be the same as the next person's. I still need to know how you involved yourself in all of this. So if you will, please start from the beginning. Weird, but okay. I was born during a storm in the middle of July. You know what I mean. Eraserhead, come in. I assume this is your student and trainee Shinso, he says as he lets them in. Yes, sir, that would be me, he says, walking into the room with one table and a small kid. Wait, no, this is that vigilante from that one group that became popular recently on social media. Verdant, Aizawa says nonchalantly. Eraser. Hey there, old pal. Nice seeing you again. It's been a week. The Verdant Analyst says in a silly and joyful voice. No way. Shinso? Hey there, pal. I see you're still training with dear old Eraserhead, he says, looking at the two of them happily. You could tell he was smiling though his mask covered his face. Do I know you? Shinso was very confused. Nope. The vigilante says cheerfully. Eraserhead turns to the detective and the detective shakes his head. Lie. It seems the Verdant does not know Naomesa's quirk. He would have lied or not answered if he knew. They all sit down across from the vigilante. So why exactly are you here? You're not in HNDCFFS, so I assume you were not arrested. Did you do something to the people who work here? Is that why they are missing? He snarls. Fun stuff. Now that you are here, Eraserhead, just like I asked Sakachi. Well, now I can tell you what I did to your precious co-workers. He laughs maniacally. It's simple, really. I just made them invisible for 1 hour. You see, I found this potion thing on a criminal and it was apparently from their quirk. I took it and wanted to try it. All I knew was it was non-lethal and I accidentally drank some myself when I spiked the station's coffee. So I was invisible till about 20 minutes ago, so I decided to wait in here, and that's when the detective came in. And then he called you on my behalf. You are my favorite pro and I wanted to show you what I did. Awesome, right? The vigilante says enthusiastically. Aizawa was now glad that he did not get coffee before coming in. He was glad to see that Sakachi had gotten better coffee elsewhere. Those currently working have no idea that anything's going on at all, since those who are invisible can see the others who are also invisible. Verdant says, smiling. Okay, well, we're going to have to arrest you now. For illegal quirk usage, vigilantism, and poisoning the whole police department. The detective says happily as he takes out HNDCFFS. He was glad that this vigilante wasn't in as much pain as he thought he would be, and that they wouldn't have to deal with him anymore. Not yet. Maybe someday in the future, but a lot today, detective, he says, and then, cover your mouths. Sleeping gas. Aizawa says, putting his scarf over his mouth. I have a mask, so unfortunately it won't affect me. He says in a sing-song voice. Good night. 9 Hanako, Hitoshi. Answer me. I've been writing to you for the past hour. Come on. I know you aren't asleep. Hello. I'm worried. Are you okay? Hello. Hitoshi. Hey, sorry, I just got my phone back. Hanako. What happened? Did your parents take your phone? Hitoshi. No, the police confiscated it so it wouldn't distract me during the interrogation. Hanako. Interrogation? Do I have to murder someone? Hitoshi. No, I was with Eraserhead training and then his friend called him saying that he had some new intel on a case they had been working on and that he should come down to the station. This is a common occurrence, so he brought me with him. Hanako, that doesn't explain why you were interrogated or there was an interrogation. Hitoshi. Right, there was a vigilante in the interrogation room where we were supposed to meet the detective and he had sent the message because he wanted his hero, Eraserhead, to be there. We all fell asleep after using some sleeping gas except for him since he wore a mask. You might know the vigilante. It's the one that hasn't been named from the Ducklings vigilante group. I looked them up when I got back home just now. Hanako, how do you type so fast? Wow, that's crazy. Do you know if they have a name for him? Hitoshi, yeah, they were calling him the Verdant Analyst or just Verdant. Hanako, Hitoshi, not really to me, but okay. A news channel played on giant screens throughout the city. New member of the vigilante gang, the Ducklings poisoned police precinct. Recently, the vigilante name of a popular gang member has been revealed. The police called him the Verdant Analyst, but some called him Verdant for short. Isn't that cute, folks? Look out for their ducks. Verdant ducks are the green ones. I think we have a new vigilante icon. People look out for the Verdant Analyst. The news report continued to detail the incident involving the vigilante known as the Verdant Analyst. The public's fascination with the mysterious figure grew as the story gained traction. Rumors and speculations about the vigilante's motives and abilities spread like wildfire across social media platforms. 9:23 a.m. Hanako sent a video. Katsuki, nice. Verdant's first news report. Hanako, I know, right? Katsuki, that was sarcasm, dumbass. I guess you really can't tell over the phone. 9:32 a.m. Hanako, are you ready for class tomorrow? It's going to be your first day. Katsuki, heck yeah. Hitoshi Shinso, is that the kid that you're friends with? The one that trains with the underground pro? He got second place after me in the entrance exam. Hanako, oh yeah. You should talk to him. Remember, you know me as Hanako Suzuki, not my dead name, if you understand what I mean. Katsuki, yeah, whatever, I'll let you know whatever happens. Stay safe during patrol. Hanako, okay. I will love you, Kaken. Katsuki, love you nerd. Knock knock knock. Come in. Have you met the detective? The police officer says, gesturing towards Sakachi, who had just arrived. Yes, sir, Eraserhead responds wearily. We keep meeting, the detective and Eraser say simultaneously. Allow me to provide an update on the case involving the mutant quirk outbreak. It appears to be linked to a substance that induces abnormal behavior in quirk users. Our undercover agent overheard that it is referred to as Trigger. Consequently, the president has decided to rename this case the Trigger case and expand its awareness to more precincts due to increasing occurrences across Japan, the officer explains as he hands Sakachi the case file. Thank you. Sakachi acknowledges in an irritated tone, while Eraserhead nods to signal the officer to depart. That's one heck of a way to start the day. It's only 5 a.m. and we're already getting busy, Sakachi said sarcastically, turning towards Eraserhead. Don't you have your first day of teaching class today, Eraser? Yep, unfortunately I do. So I guess I'll be off. I want to get there early and settle in for a nap before they arrive. Hopefully, some students won't be so clueless this year and notice me in my sleeping bag. It'll be nice to have some talent for once, Eraserhead responded. Hey, you never know who you'll get. Maybe you'll get Verdant in your class since you mentioned his voice sounded young. Plus, you have your trainee Shinso in the class and the explosive one you mentioned who got first, he said as they walked to the entrance. As they got to the front of the station, Eraserhead waved. I'll catch you later, detective, he said and walked out. When Bakugo had gotten to school early on the first day, he had expected it to be somewhat different from his past years. What he didn't expect was to see a tired old man in a yellow sleeping bag behind what he presumed was the teacher's desk. Did this guy eat their teacher? He was looking at the guy when the man turned his attention to him, looking him straight in the eye. That was creepy. Bakugo decided it would be better to sit down and wait for people to arrive. Soon enough they did, and after waiting about 15 minutes the kid he had been waiting to see came in. Hitoshi Shinso, the student he had met a few times, was trained by a pro, Izuku's favorite pro. And although they had only talked a few times briefly, Bakugo knew more about this kid than he could say, and it was all because of his dear Izuku's ramblings, which he loves. Shinso noticed the man quickly. If Bakugo remembered correctly, he was the fourth one to see. The first was him since he was the first in the classroom as well, the second was Endeavor's son, the third was a girl with things on her ears and purple hair who probably had a hearing quirk, and the last was Shinso since he also came later than those before him. After seeing the man, Shinso walked up to him for whatever reason and exchanged words. Shinso sounded more surprised by the second by what he could hear from where he was sitting, even though he was in the front. Izuku had told him he needed hearing aids, but he never listened. Maybe now for UA it would be a good idea to get some less noticeable ones for hero work training and school. Aizu is so caring. Shinso went back to his seat and the man in the sleeping bag stood up and got out of his spot and out of the sleeping bag, standing behind the teacher's desk. Good morning, class. I am Aizawa Shota, your homeroom teacher for this year, their teacher said. Bakugo would have never expected that. Though he should have seen it coming, and now that he thought about it, isn't this guy Eraserhead? He has the scarf and everything, plus the stare. I can't wait to tell Izuku that he will flip. Bakugo thinks as he listens to their teacher. It makes sense why Shinso went up to the man and why he was so surprised. He must not have known. It is eager to be him. I made a surprise for you. Hearing aids to celebrate your first day at UA. I made them myself. You're going to need them if you want to become a hero. They'll blend in pretty well, so they shouldn't be too noticeable to people. There's also a function that I can use as a comm. I can connect to it if I need to contact you a situation, or if you need to contact me, just press the little button on the back, Izuku says as he hugs his best friend and hands him the box. I was thinking I needed this during class when I couldn't hear the Aizawa. Some of my teachers, he responds by taking the hearing aids from the box, help me put them on. Of course, Kaken. Izuku says, taking them from Katsuki's hands. After years of struggling with partial hearing loss, Izuku had given Katsuki advanced hearing aids that he had made just for his ears. Putting them in, he finally realized how much he couldn't hear before. Thank you, Aizu, he said, pulling his best friend into another hug. You're telling me that you still haven't found her? Her roomie is unimportant. Get me that girl. If you happen to come across the other one, then bring her as bait. A booming voice says though a mask. Why, sir? The young boy says in a timid and small voice. Good now, leave me. The masked figure says slowly. We'll get your little duo back in here soon enough. My creature and my source, he says as he stares at a pin board filled with pictures and pins and X on many of the faces. Most were young faces. Time to see how my new source is, he says under his breath as he walks into a corridor with rooms more than half with people who were likely going insane. He arrives at the door he had been heading to, he knocks and then opens. Eri. Chapter 9. Mom? The details about AFO and VWD Izuku 2 are inspired by my recent finding that I have VWD, smiley face. I thought it would be a fun detail and it will be important in the future, I promise. After their first monthly group patrol, the ducklings were all sitting on a roof together. Did you know that the greatest villain of all time, the mastermind of the underworld, has VWD? Verdant said, randomly breaking the silence. And how exactly do you know that? Misty says as the other members look confused. Oh right, you all don't know. He's my father. Verdant says, annoyed, yet somehow he managed to sound happy. Oh, that makes sense. Wait, he's your what? Sing Song says, almost falling off the roof. How the hell? I've heard rumors about him and how horrible he is and how strong as well. Plus, isn't he the one who steals and gives quirks? The illustrator is annoyed since she only now found out about this. Yeah, that's him, good old dad. He thinks I'm dead, so don't tell him otherwise if you ever meet him, he says, shrugging. That's crazy. You mentioned you ran away but at 8? And you faked your death. I thought you had fooled your parents, but I didn't expect one of those parents to be all for one. Cub says, surprised as she kicks her feet. It was hard to manage, but wait, what did you call him? Verdant says, and the other vigilantes turn towards Cub looking for an answer as well. Oh, it must have slipped my mind. I met his successor on patrol. He was looking for recruits and he asked me. I of course said no, but before I did, he told me about his MSDR's power, and while he was talking he accidentally said all for one, but I pretended I didn't hear, so yeah. Cub explains to the other 4 vigilantes. That makes sense, and honestly that would have been me in Tamura's place if I hadn't escaped, he says, causing a confused look from them all. Tamura is the guy you met. We used to train together and he is technically my brother, though he is adopted. Cub nods in understanding. The others are still a bit confused. There is a few minutes of silence before Sing Song asks, what is VWD exactly? There is a pause before Verdant answers, well, it's a genetic disorder that affects the blood. The von Willebrand factor in your blood is crucial for clotting. Without it, your blood won't clot properly. This means if you were to get a serious cut, the bleeding wouldn't stop, and it could be life-threatening. I know about this condition because I have it too, and it's passed down through generations. I'm glad that I'm not a girl, no offense, but because for them, the disorder can cause prolonged and heavy PRDs. I'm not sure how long is normal for a PRD, but this can make it last much longer, like double the normal or even triple. I did some research on it when I had the chance, so yeah. Wow, good to know, I guess. Tango says, feeling even more confused than before since she didn't know some of those words. My AI just let me know that a pro is approaching, so we should probably skedaddle, Misty says, standing up. One night later, Izuku had been chilling on a rooftop when he heard singing. He could only describe this singing as a siren-like voice with the way he felt as he heard the appealing song. He felt compelled to do as the voice said. The voice came again, clear now that he was closer. That I did it, I did. I jumped. I stepped right off that cliff without a parachute. Izuku stood up. I looked over the edge and saw the view of something I could never do, and no part of me knew how, but the moment came and it had to be now, so. He walked to the edge of the roof. I did it, I did. I jumped. I stepped right off that cliff without a parachute. He fell. Down, down, down until he finally realized what was happening, but when he thought it was too late, something pulled him up and he landed softly on his feet. Don't you miss me? An oddly familiar voice said from behind him. He turned around only to see someone who looked like his mother. More than you know, he mumbled, since he must be hallucinating. Then come closer and hug me, she says, extending her arms out. This couldn't be his mom, right? I'll make sure that you are safe and sound. He knows this couldn't be his mother, but he still walks toward the figure of his supposed mother. She walks toward him slowly, and once they are close enough, she puts her hand on his face, caressing his cheek. "Oh honey, look how well you've grown up. I've been watching you and you are doing so good. I'm proud of you. I'm so very proud of you," she says as she looks him in the eye, her ghostly hand moving back to her side. He says, eyes starting to water. "Yes honey, I can't stay for much longer here in this world, for it is no longer my place. I used up the last of my energy to save you. Stay safe when I'm gone, and if you were wondering about Katsuki, I can tell you like him, sweetie," she says with a soft smile on her face. "I give you full consent to date him. I know that you two are made for each other, and I know that your Auntie Mitsuki knows too. I see the way you look at each other." All Izuku can do is stand there surprised, tears staining his shirt as he cries silently to not interrupt his mother. "Remember to go with your gut. I would put a little more trust into that Eraserhead guy. I followed him around and he is a real hero. Your friends are good ones, they'll always have your back." She starts to glow. Izuku's eyes widened. "What's happening? Are you okay, Dash?" "My time is up. I guess I do speak like I'm running out of time." She looks at Izuku as she starts to fade. "I love you, Aiza, my baby. I'll always be watching you. I believe in your dreams, Izuku. All of them, and I am sure that you will do great things in your life. History has its eyes on you." As the last of her fades, she makes eye contact with her son and whispers, "I love you." He stares at where his mother had just been, tears overflowing. He looks down to the floor where the item had fallen. "A key," he says under his breath as he falls to the ground, clasping it in his hand. This was the key his mother always wore around her neck. He never learned what it was for, but somehow it had been left behind, and it was the only thing he had that was hers now, other than an old picture from Kaken. He curled up into a ball, sobbing and clutching the key tightly. He was in an alley, but somehow he felt safe. Maybe it was his mother's ghost. Minute, even when she was dead, she was still protecting him. Why did she have to leave? Why did she have to die? Why did he have to kill her? It was his fault that she died. It was as stupid bad luck, and his stupid father hated everything. He hated the world and himself. "There you are, oh shit," a voice says, running up to him and picking him up. He didn't care, he just let the person do as they pleased. It didn't matter anymore to him. "What the hell happened to you?" the person grumbled, walking at a fast pace. Soon enough he was placed on a bed and he could feel the warmth of blankets being put on top of him. The person went to walk away, but Izuku grabbed their hand before they could leave. "Stay," was all he could say, and the person nodded, sitting next to him and placing a warm hand on his shoulder. He fell asleep next to the person as they hummed a sweet tune. "We found the girls, sir," a young child said. "Well done. Now where are they?" a deep voice said through a mask. "You didn't get them, sir, you didn't tell us to. Get them now, goddammit, it, those two have caused me enough trouble already and I need them now, go." The voice says irritatedly, interrupting the other. He turns to the young girl. "Now where was I, Eri?" he says as the girl trembles in the chair. "Are you sure you're okay, Zuku? I can always tell my parents that I need to stay for another week. I have a training field trip tomorrow, but I don't care if I miss it, you're more important to me than that," he says as he stands at the door. "And no, Kaken school is more important and I'm okay now. Thank you for staying with me and for everything you did. Besides, Amain showed me how to hack the security cameras at the USJ, since for some reason they weren't blocked by your principal's crazy intense security system, so I can watch through there if I need to contact you. You have your hearing aid," he says, pushing him out of the door. "Yeah, whatever, nerd, if you need me, call. Don't hesitate," he says, and then they both walk out. "I can't believe this is my first time walking you to you. It shouldn't be," Izuku says as they walk. They are early, but it doesn't matter too much. Izuku is currently wearing his Hanako disguise. Once they are halfway there, Izuku spots Hitoshi walking out of his house hurriedly. "Hey Toshi, I forgot you lived around here. I'm walking Kaken to school and want to join," he says cheerfully. "Oh hey Hanako, hey Bakuga, yeah I guess, sure," he says as he walks over to them. "So Kaken, huh?" he says to Bakugu, who glares at him. "Look, we're here." "Is that your teacher?" "So cool," he says as he spots Aizawa. "Yeah, he's also my mentor. Looks like he's waiting for the class to arrive." See you later, Hanako. Hitoshi says, giving a slight bow before jogging off to Aizawa. See ya, nerd. Stay safe, Katsuki grumbles after Hitoshi leaves. Will do, Kaken, he says, smiling brightly. Katsuki walks away. As soon as he is home, Izuku goes to his computer and starts hacking into the security cams at the USJ. After getting in, he makes himself a snack and sits down as he waits for them to arrive and the show to begin. Good luck, show, Zashi says, waving to him as he walks out. He gets into his car, drives to UA parking and walks to where the buses are waiting for the students. He waited a few minutes sipping from his coffee, which appeared out of nowhere. Finally, he saw some students walking up to the gate, though only 2 were his students. The third was some random kid with black hair. Soon enough, Shinso walked over to him. Who's the black-haired kid? He asked his trainee. The one I told you about, Hanako Suzuki. He's my friend and apparently, he is Bakugo's best friend, which is surprising. I didn't think he had one of those. Shinso mumbles back. He hums, is that the one that you train with sometimes? Yeah, that's him. Maybe I'll introduce you to him sometime. He goes to the vigilant cat a lot. Shinso says as Bakugo turns away from the kid and heads towards them. Good to see you back, Bakugo, Aizawa grumbles. The kid only nods in response. He had heard Kirishima and Mina talking with Denki about Bakugo's absence. He had heard them say that he was taking care of a friend who was going through a hard time in his life. They had said it was so kind of him and so uncharacteristic. He couldn't say he disagreed, and now he had a feeling he knew who the kid was, and it coincidentally was also the friend of his trainee. That didn't matter right now, they had a field trip to get on with. After finally getting his students onto the bus, they drove to the USJ. It was a loud ride, that's all he'll say. They had arrived safe and sound, but after only a little bit he had a feeling that something was about to go wrong, and boy did he hate those feelings because they were always right. He just hoped he could prove himself wrong. He did not. Villains came through portals and they went after the kids, and when he tried to contact them for help he couldn't. The comms had been shut off. He even asked his students to try and contact anyone, but it didn't work. He scanned through all his students' eyes, landing on Bakugo. He looked like he was listening to something. He stopped to listen, but he heard nothing until he did. But it was the sound of battle. Kaken, I'm going to gear up with ducklings. These enemies are dangerous, but they don't seem to know any of your quirks from what I have observed so far. Be careful, I'll be there soon. We should find a way no one winds up dead, so full speed ahead. We're up, we're off, and away we go. He says through the comm in Katsuki's hearing aid. He quickly got into his outfit and contacted the other ducklings. Soon they were already dressed and heading to the USJ. Once they arrived, they had gotten to the place and let them know where they could sneak in from. Amain was a great help. They had put cameras on each of their suits just in case of emergency. This came in handy since they could withstand any signal jammer, and it let Amain see everything so that he could give proper instructions. They guided them through the USJ, helping the vigilantes on where to go. After only a short time the villains were in sight and they were heading toward battle. Verdant puts a hand to his comm. Sing-Song and Illustrator, you two take the left half of this place and knock down as many villains as you can. Don't help the students unless necessary, they can handle themselves. Irene, you're with me, we'll take the right side. Great. Very well. Groovy. All right, good luck with your fight. Holler if you need a hand, I'll be watching as well. The other members respond. Let's do this, ducklings. Go. They split into their teams and start taking down villains. Though Verdant won't admit it, he likes how all the ducklings' costumes blend in with the villains, especially in situations like this one. Baku bro, let's do this. Kirishima says as they attack the mist guy. They attack the mist guy but end up falling right through him. When they get through him, they are in the ruins zone surrounded by villains. Katsuki glares at the villains. Who is the mist guy? You know him? He says through the comm as he fights. He hopes that Kirishima will just think he is asking the villains, and honestly all he wants is an answer. It doesn't matter from who. There is a sound over the comm and then he hears Izuku speak, Kurojiri. He's the new guy, or was the new guy. You can pin him or hold him down. By the metal neck plates he wears. I wouldn't go dash. Thanks, he says, interrupting Izuku. The villain he was currently defeating looked at him confused. Katsuki knocks him out and moves on, battling with the next villain who dared attack him. Wow, Baku bro, where'd you find those sick moves, man? I knew you trained out of school, but man, that's so manly. Kirishima says as Bakugo finishes off the last villain in the area they were currently in. Doesn't matter, let's go shitty hair, he says, storming off in some random direction. They walk and soon they hear more villains talking. They stop to listen for any important information they may leak, and they see a group of villains surrounding two other people who Katsuki recognized as Sing Song and the illustrator. Why weren't they fighting back? They are strong enough, they must be under the effect of some kind of quirk. Wouldn't you like a taste of the power? Wouldn't you like to use more than words? One villain says to the vigilantes. Deep in the night the fight lasts for hours, you can be hurt or you can rejoin. Another says as the two look at each other, seemingly knowing what the villains are suggesting. Wouldn't you like to be part of the change? Wouldn't you like a world with no quirks? They say. Deep in the night the fight can be tragic, well, help him change the world. The first one says again. He can turn you into nothingness that'll end up in a grave, he can all but steal your quirk away like our other boss can take. Another says she was leaning against the wall across from the others. Yeah. Our other boss can conjure up monsters that will grind you to the bone. The second one says. But your dear Overhaul has ways to haunt you when you take him on alone. The one against the wall says. Thanks, but we're good, Sing Song says, and then she starts singing loudly. A few of the villains' eyes widened, really just the ones who had been speaking. The others didn't do anything about it other than look confused. Soon enough the villains were floating. I got it. Illustrator says, drawing something and then using the binding to tie them all together. Sing Song stops singing and the villains all fall to the ground. She doesn't speak but puts up a thumbs up. Bakugo takes that moment to walk out. Illustrator looks at them high on alert. Sing Song, however, does not see them since she is facing the other way. What the hell was that about? Sing Song flinches and turns around. She visibly relaxes upon seeing them. Man. Bakugo, you're great, but we're hero students. Do you think we should be talking with vigilantes? Kirishima says, unsure of what to do in their current situation. It's fine, I watch their TikTok, they don't kill heroes, they are just hero wannabes, he says mockingly. What did you just call us? You motherfucker. The illustrator says as Sing Song tugs on her arm. She stops and turns to Sing Song. Sing Song signs in response, stay quiet, defeat villains. The illustrator nods and turns to the boys. What did she say? Kirishima's. She said, stay quiet, defeat the villains. I couldn't agree more, he says with a smirk. Can't wait to tell your boyfriend that the oh-so-high and mighty Bakugo acts like a piece of shit when he is not around. I mean, you act bad, but this is honestly worse. Your personality kinda sikes. You like a little angry Pomeranian, illustrator says, and Kirishima turns to him. You know these vigilantes? And you have a boyfriend? That's so manly, dude. Kirishima says, giving an approving smile. I don't have a FING boyfriend. He's my friend, you motherfucking idiots. And I don't know this vigilante girl, she knows me, he responds to them both angrily. He's stalker sheet. He grumbles. Tango is recording. Bakugo is yelling at Celeste and Kirishima is watching. When she had pulled out her phone, Kirishima had been about to protest, but she just put her hand up to her mouth to signal him to be quiet, and he just shrugged and complied. It was a win. She would have to show Irene Izuku and Amain. Exciting. Tamura watches closely as Eraserhead takes out his picks. He knew that he should have looked for better ones. Eraserhead was a true hero who he looked up to when he still believed in heroes, not that he still did. He was a full-on villain now. He couldn't afford to like heroes, not even the ones that were real and not just fakes who saved people for the fame and money and glory. Unlike Almighty Eraserhead is someone you can't afford to look up to. That's why you liked underground heroes. If he could have ever had the chance to be a hero, he would have been one. They did work and save people, but they just didn't get any of the credit and almost no fame. The money was okay, but not as good as Limelight heroes. They did it so they could save people. They didn't care about the money. They were the true heroes and society needed more like them, and he would defeat All Might and show everyone what a fraud he was. He wasn't going to be weak like his brother. He would be strong and prove to his father that he was worthy to take his place and succeed him as the next greatest villain. He wouldn't say he wasn't excited for that day. He was, and there was going to be some major changes around the league, but he could wait, and that's just what he does. Knew when the time would come he would know it. He runs toward the pro, calculating his success. Eraserhead skillfully throws his capture weapon at him, but he manages to dodge it and continue running forward. He grabs the capture weapon in one hand. Eraserhead yanks the capture weapon toward himself, and Shigaraki falls. The pro then proceeds to throw an elbow at his stomach, but Shigaraki is prepared and catches it, activating his quirk on Eraserhead. They exchange some words and Shigaraki starts to disintegrate his elbow through. Soon Eraserhead jumps away. His useless NPCs then attack Eraserhead. He dodges though he is still holding his elbow. Shigaraki moves away from him and Eraserhead finishes off the last few that had attacked him. He turns to him, turning on his quirk. "Just look at you, you're still standing. You really are so cool. Oh, by the way, hero," he says, and Eraserhead turns his head. "I am not the final boss." He finishes and the Nomu is now behind Eraserhead. It grabs him by the head, and right before it can smash its head into the ground in the distance, someone says, "Stop." And the Nomu freezes. "That can't be right. The only people who are supposed to be allowed to control these was me, Dehar, and the doctor." He sees someone coming closer. They're running fast. He feels like he recognizes them, though he doesn't. It looks like another villain. He didn't know all of the villains. How could he? There were too many. "How did you do that?" he said angrily. "I guess you'll never know. It's a secret. Now I can't let you be hurting my dear old Eraserhead here, so why don't we put him down, right, pal? The hero, perhaps?" says to the name, and then Nomu puts Eraserhead down as asked. The guy commands the Nomu, his Nomu, to leave, and it does. "What the hell? You just spoiled my fun. How dare you? This is my game." "Oops, sorry about that," the guy says. "Verdant, what the hell are you doing here? Why the hell are you here and how did you get in?" Eraserhead says to the guy that he thinks this person might be a student. He looks like he could be one. But what the hell was going on? Do they still know he's here? Did they forget about him? It sure seemed like they did. Chapter 10, USJ, blanking. 10 chapters, wow. 9 weeks in already. Crazy. Also, I have been having a writer's block, so I am sorry for the shorter last 2 chapters. USJ continuation. April 9th. Shoyuta feels pain in his head as the Nomu grabs hold of him. He braces for impact but is confused when nothing happens. He hears people speaking and then he is put down. "Oops, sorry about that." A familiar voice says. He looks over and sees the Verdant Analyst. "Why was Verdant here? How did he get in?" "Verdant, what the hell are you doing here? Why are you here and how did you get in?" he says, exasperated. He sees Shigaraki starting to look frustrated out of the corner of his eye. "Who the hell are you?" "My name is Nobody," Verdant says as he walks to Eraser's side. "Bullshit. You know what, never mind. You'll be dead soon enough," Shigaraki says and then launches toward Verdant. Shota throws out his capture weapon and grabs the villain, tossing him to the side. "Nomu, grab Tamura," Verdant says, and the villain's eyes widen. The Nomu obeys. How did Verdant know his name? Maybe he hacked into something. He did have a history of hacking in the past. The villain disintegrated the Nomu's arms and ran, but the Nomu grabbed them and grabbed him once again. This was the CYCL that seemed to be going on, so he took the opportunity. "So how did you know his name?" "I hacked some sheet," is the distracted response he gets from the vigilante, who seemed deep in thought. He hummed in response as he watched the CYCL continue. He sees Ida with some other students as they finish battling the villains. He may or may not have seen some vigilantes amid the battles. He could see from where he was. This was no time to celebrate, though. He erased the villain's quirk after he thought enough time had passed, and the Nomu held him frozen now that the task had been fulfilled. "Good, now keep him there. Make sure he does not get away," Verdant says, and then turns as he hears talking. "Kakatsuki? How did Verdant know his students?" "He probably hacked into UA files." Bakugu's eyes shoot up when he hears Verdant, which is well, anyway. Bakugu runs towards Kirishima, following close behind. "Mr. Aizawa, we ran into some vigilantes who went to help some others," Kirishima says as they stand in front of them. A portal opens and he sees the mist villain step out. He rushes towards it as he yells to his students to stay behind. He falls through the villain, and when he turns to check on his problem children, they are gone. Izuku is now in some random building. He spots Kirishima and Katsuki by a wall a little ways away. Someone lunges at him, and they go into battle. The villain makes eye contact with him, and his feet are now frozen in place. It lasts while the villain looks him in the eye. Whenever he blinks, Izuku can move again, though he only manages to take one step before he is stuck again. The two students are still by the wall, right out of view of the villain but in perfect view of him. "Kaken," he yells to his friend. The villain's features scrunch up. He wasn't expecting that. "Who? Me, motherfucker." This is the villain's only warning as the wall explodes from beside him. The villain is taken down in one hit. "You keep surprising me, man," Kirishima says, stepping away from the man who now lays on the ground decapitated. No, oops. I'm knocked out. Whatever. Let's look for the others, he says, walking to the ramp of the ship and getting off. "Sounds good," Verdant says, following. "Hurry up. You guys are so dim and slow." Bakugo turns around and the other two rush up to him. "You are literally always yelling and angry," Kirishima says to Bakugo. "I am not always yelling and angry." Bakugo yelling, in his yell-tastic voice filled with yelling. "Why do so many of you extras keep saying that?" he continued angrily, anger in his voice as he responded angrily, anger seeping into his words as he walked away angrily, footsteps filled with anger as he left angrily. "Exactly." Kirishima and Verdant sat simultaneously. "Did you say something to me, dumbass?" After the two shake their heads and he turns around and continues walking. Soon they find Mineta and Tsu. "Hey guys. Have you seen any of the others?" Kirishima says, and the two turn around. Tsu walks over to them, Mineta following. "Hey Kirishima, and whoever you are." "No, we were looking for others but we kept running into villains. We had some help from this orange vigilante girl who came. I think she said her name was Cub or something. She was battling and the villain teleported her somewhere else on the map." "Karo. Oh right, you can just call me Verdant. I am with that vigilante and two others." "Did you see any others?" Verdant asks, hoping that they are okay. Mineta starts, "Yes, we saw the other two extras. We were with them before seeing you and Mr. Aizawa. They left to help others." Bakugo interrupts, responding to Verdant. "Oh, that's great, thanks for telling me, Katsuki." Verdant sighs. "Wait, do you know each other? Why is he using your first name, Karo?" Tsu asks Bakugo. Bakugo glares at Verdant. "Izuku can't help it. It's not like he is trying to do it, but it is just a habit. Kaken has always been Kaken. It has been hard to not call him that. This motherfucker is a vigilante. I know him from TikTok and Sheet. He probably hacked into UA's system." Tsu nods hesitantly and they walk toward where Aizawa is watching Tamura. They are pretty close to him and then they all stop when they see that the teacher is pinning down Kurogyari by his neckpiece. He must have figured it out, Verdant thinks, and Aizawa looks up, stopping his quirk for a second. Kurogyari makes a portal under him and he falls through it. Aizawa jumps away to not fall in, looking for where the villain disappeared. Silence. Then a portal opens under the Nomu and Tamura and they disappear again as they all stare. What the hell? Did they fucking retreat? Those motherfucking extras. Sheet, what the F dash? Bakugo yells angrily. "That's great, man, what are you talking about? Plus, only the main villains got away, all the others are still here." Kirishima says to Bakugo with a thumbs up and a smile. Verdant hears something in his ear. "Back. I'm back. The cameras are back on. Duckling's status update." Misty says over the comms. "I am all good here with Sing Song and Cub is coming as well. She has a few students following her but we can see her." The illustrator says. "Yup, all great. We have most of the students here and Irene has 3 others. We are just missing Bakugo, Shark Kid, Frog Girl, and the Great Pervert. We have some minor injuries but everyone is good enough to walk," Sing Song says over the comm. "Yup, I am now with the rest of the group. Verdant, you with those others?" Verdant puts his hand to his comm. "Why, I am with them. We are in the center area. Eraserhead is here. The main villains just escaped in front of us." He answers, earning a confused glance from Aizawa, who probably didn't know they had come. He sees Aizawa's eyes widen, puts a hand up to his ear, and speaks. He speaks over the comm and after a little bit, you can hear a loud voice saying. He zones out. The events of the day finally caught up to him. It's all a blur, a world of flashing lights. "Tamura recognized you. He'll tell father. He knows. They know. They'll kill you. They'll kill Kakin because of me. I can't believe it's all my fault. I can't do anything correctly. I'm hoping. You dim a nerd. Hello? Hello? Is there anyone home? Katsuki says in Izuku's face. Izuku flinches. Keiko-chan, what happened? Is everyone okay with the villains? Yes, it's all good. In the end, you just weren't there. Or some sheet. I don't know. I know that Irene, Celeste and Tango had to escape with you tied to a rope and being pulled by them since you were so out of it. He grumbled. I'll have to apologize, he says in a small voice. Damn it, what the hell happened back there? You have been out of it all day. I was worried, you dumb nerd. He says, worried and angry about him. Sorry for worrying you, Kakin. Wait, how did you get out of the hospital and away from the heroes? He says, looking up at Kakin. He speaks loudly and angrily. Stop trying to change the topic. Sorry, he squeaks. He pauses and then starts speaking again, this time more anxious. Well, I was just thinking about the villains and my brother, well, adopted brother. I was thinking about the fact he may have recognized me. Plus my father will most definitely be hearing about what happened here, then he will look into how I can control his Nomu and then he will know I am alive. After that, he will hurt you and the ducklings and Shinso and then turn me into a villain or a Nomu or kill me. I just can't believe I was this stupid. I can't believe I didn't take a second to think. I mean, seriously, what the hell is wrong with me? He explained, beating himself up about his mistakes. They were in his room as Izuku now noticed. Just how long had he been out of it? It was dark out. He was not wearing his vigilante outfit but instead a pair of baggy briefs and a random shirt. When had he changed? Was he on autopilot this whole time or had Kakin helped him? He was tired, that was for sure. Too tired to deal with any more emotions, he just wanted to curl up next to his Kakin and sleep. He wanted to feel the comforting warmth of his best friend's body next to his. He wanted to find a space where he could relax completely without the many fears and terrors that followed him, a place where he didn't have to worry about anything or anyone. Katsuki is frustrated. Oi. Fucker, listen up. You did all you effing could to save people, you hear me? Why, I know, but I feel like now you are all in even more danger because of me, he sniffles. Katsuki's eyes widen and he rushes next to Izuku, who wraps his arms around his torso and pulls him closer to himself. Will why you stay with me, Kakin? He says, looking up at his best friend. Yeah. I will, nerd. He responds, wrapping his arms around him warmly, and Izuku starts to cry, leaning into him. Just let them go, Aizawa says to the group of police who were about to rush after the vigilante group. But sir, one guy says. No, follow Eraserhead's commands. He is an underground pro and a trusted ally. I trust his judgment, the squad leader responds. Yes sir, the rest say, and Aizawa walks away. Verdant had been really out of it ever since he had answered whoever was on the other side of the comms, probably the other ducklings, he assumed. He sees Bakugo, who looks worried, standing near Kirishima. That is strange. The vigilantes saved his class. Sure, they would have likely survived anyway, but they would have more than just mental scars, so those kids owed the vigilantes their lives. They head to the hospital for a check with each student, and then after everyone is cleared, they start interviews to see each point of view of the incident. After his interview with Tsukauchi, he decided to go behind the mirror to watch the interviews. It was the same type of thing for each student. After they scattered, they fought villains with the vigilante groups. They described each vigilante with minimal lies. A few did lie, and those lies were not very big or important. His attention was brought back when the fiery kid Bakugo took his turn. Hello Bakugo, my name is Tsukauchi Naomasa and I will be asking you a few questions regarding the USJ incident earlier today. The detective shakes Bakugo's hand. Hello sir, he responded in a rather calm voice for Bakugo standards at least. They sit down and Tsukauchi takes out his computer with the questions form. On the other side of the mirror, Aizawa glances at the TV that is now showing the form as it gets filled out with each question. Tsukauchi also asks if their answer is true or if it is a lie and writes the answer down. Last question, you have any past relations with any of the vigilantes? The detective asks the spiky-haired teen. The kid doesn't hesitate, no other than meeting them there. Tsukauchi writes it down and then guides the kid out. Aizawa waits in the detective's office. The detective finally arrives after a few minutes of waiting. So, could he be a new lead? Seems like it. He is young though, so he may believe he knows them when he doesn't, but he is still young. I am sure we will catch these vigilantes soon, so for now you can just keep an eye on him. If we don't catch them soon, we can plant a recorder on him since he may become our only lead. The detective says, tired. Sounds good.